Hello everybody. Vector's image is all messed up, but in a moment we'll be jumping onto Vector Spaceman's channel where we'll be doing a bit of a podcast talk show. We'll see what it's going to turn into type of a show. So yeah, do check the description, do take a look at the link in the chat, and hop on over to Vector's channel where we'll be partaking in the conversation and seeing what's going down. We're really just going live on our side to capture our perspective of things and have our take here. But yeah, we're gonna be jumping over right quick. So let me go ahead and share the Vector Spaceman stream. And what we'll likely do is just capture the audio through their channel. We'll see if ads become an issue. If they are, actually, you know what, we'll probably just mute it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this up. And whenever Vector goes live and he's ready, we'll be swapping over. All right. You can probably just leave it like that. Yeah, it'll be fine. It's just there to be there. But yes, once again, we're going to be joining Vector Spaceman here real soon. Do check the description and the link in the chat. Go to Vector's channel, and that's where the conversation will be at. He has a little studio that he has made, and we also will be possibly taking in Colin. Here we go.
And back at it again. Coming to you live once more straight from Harbor Station, broadcasting on all frequencies to our beautiful planet Earth. Oh, thank you so much, Kieran. Good to see you tonight. Hope you're doing well. Now, whether you're watching us live or after the show, don't you know we're glad to have you on board. Thanks for helping us make outer space the place to be on this Wednesday, my dudes, November 9th, 2022. Welcome back to the show, Space Cadets. And if it's your first time joining us tonight, then hey, welcome aboard. I'm Vector Spaceman, host of this Vector Spaceman show, and joined, of course, by my lovely co-host, Mr. Dregn Durant. And tonight we are in studio for an evening of discussions of matters of streams, memes, dreams, and schemes, making use of our revised chit-chat and scenes to bring you a show oh so supreme. And in addition to two Spaceman waxing ridiculous, which, as far as I'm concerned, makes for a fine show in and of itself, we'll also be opening up the Space Line. Yes, you too can be part of tonight's show, Space Cadets, by calling into our purpose-built Discord channel made to corral opinionated Space Cadets who've got something to say. If at any point you've got something that you think we need to hear, opine upon, or perhaps you think the two of us just don't know what we're talking about, use the command !Discord to generate a link to the channel, and we'll bring you on to speak your mind. Let's turn down the audio here. Let's turn on the BGM. Let's get right into it. Dregn Durant, how are you, sir?
Hello, hello. How's it going, cadets? How's it going, Vector Spaceman? What are we doing today?
What are we up to? Space Cadets. Dregn, this is our first time doing an official sort of chit-chat sort of stream here on the Vector Spaceman show.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a couple of impromptu discussions over on your own YouTube channel in the past. Always a pleasure to stumble into those. But here we are tonight in the purpose-built Harbor Station recording room, geared up for an evening of pleasant conversation. How are you tonight, sir? And of course, welcome our first of what I should hope will become many featured co-hosts. We'd love to have folks like Dregn and others on the program.
Absolutely. Get hyped. Let's go. We're going to be chit-chatting about who knows what.
About who knows what.
Who knows what.
Now, I see Kieran has already gone and posted that Discord link in the chat. Remember, Space Cadets, if you got something you want to say to the Spaceman, to the Space Dragon, you just let us know. We'll drag you on into an on-air portion, let you speak your mind tonight. But otherwise, we're just going to be talking about this and that, things and stuff, whatever crosses our minds.
Absolutely. Ready for it. I'm so used to doing this on my own channel. It's weird having a sit-down co-host that's actually kind of planned out. Look at this. You even got a nice little studio booth for us to record in and everything.
Isn't this a nice little place? Absolutely.
So fancy. Usually I just have cameras pointing my way. You got a whole table and everything.
Now we've got, like, if you want to look right into the camera there, Dregn, we got the Dragon cam. There it is. Little zoom up, little close up.
Oh.
We got the wide shots. We pull in for the Vector cam. Oh, there he is, little spaceman. We got all the angles covered.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
We got a little action in the chat here. Kieran says, Dragon and Vector, what a perfect duo. Now you just need Neff, so it'll be a perfect trio. Indeed. You know, it hasn't been too long since we've seen one another, Dragon. I suppose we should start there. We were both so fortunate enough to be guests on the super special Neff Quest 1.83 repeating anniversary special last night, celebrating just over a year of performance by our pal and persistent collaborator, Neff.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, it was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was so much fun. Why don't we go ahead and give a shout out in the chat so that everybody who ain't already following Neff can go ahead and do so. Make sure you're following Neff. She does great work, not only on her own channel, but on ours as well.
Yep.
Make sure you show her some love.
Yep. Go follow Neff at twitch.tv/Vector_Spaceman.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? We should show this off as well. I've been neglecting to do this for the longest time, but I was thinking, how are we going to shout out Dragon on the show here? It's always so unwieldy to try and link to his stuff. Now we've got the purpose-built, Dragon Command there. Make sure you're following Dragon over on YouTube as well, you guys, with his proper channel link there. It's oh so easy. We don't have to go through a rigmarole of trying to link his stuff. We just put it in the chat. We just pop it in the chat.
I get my own command, guys. Let's go.
Your very own command, set with the hydrate. Thank you, sir. I think I will indulge. Dragon, you may as well do so yourself.
How could we say no?
Space Cadets, if you're feeling a little thirsty, whatever you got nearby, let's all imbibe. 3, 2, 1, clink. There we go.
Yeah.
Sucking down some Arizona iced tea tonight. Always one of my favorites.
Good choice. Good choice.
Big can, only $1.
Only
Gotta stay economical.
Even in the, I guess, revealed now Canada, huh? It's even $1 up there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And plus with that exchange rate, you know, it's even cheaper. See, that's what you Americans ought to be doing, Dragon. You come over the border, you pick up all the iced teas, all the whiskeys, all the what do you call it, tariffed stuff.
Yep.
That you can get in a single voyage, in a single mission, and you take it back home. What a savings. You got to get out there and save some money, as they say.
Exactly. Australians love to do that. I don't know if you ever met any Australians on your ventures out in space, but I had met a few at some outlets.
Australian family, as it were. Yes.
Yeah, they love coming over here, going to the outlets, stockpile it on jeans, and then taking them home.
Jeans.
You know,
I wouldn't have thought jeans, but all right.
That import cost, man.
That import cost. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought they'd all be getting made in South Asia anyways. That it would have been cheaper just to ship them right to Australia. You're right next door.
Nah, they're contesting for that water mass next door, so I think they have some contention, right?
They want that quality American-made denim. That's what it's all
There we go. That's a lost art form right there. I haven't seen real denim pants in so long. So
now I wanted to touch on Neff's show last night.
Yeah, I was going to go back
since
to
we had just brought it up a second ago.
Yep.
What a great job she did. Lots of new channel assets to show off. And best part about it all, it seems like Neff is still enjoying streaming. We may yet see her sticking around for some time, which is, of course, excellent for all of us.
Big win.
We get to do more collabs and big projects in the future. Yes, it is a big win for us. That's the best way to describe it. All right, let me look here. Dragon.
Yes.
This show tonight, not only an opportunity to shoot the breeze, if I might segue here, but also a medium through which we might discuss the pressing issues of the day. Those pertaining to virtual streamers such as yourself and to a similar extent, myself, what you might in fact call ourself. Oh, hello there, Xenovia. Speaking of Neff's show last night, didn't Xenovia do an excellent job, an absolutely admirable job on those backgrounds for the new Neff station, as it were, the Martian station? Excellent job, Xenovia. What an artiste.
100%. I was very impressed. They looked so good.
Spot on, very much in keeping in the style. Jammy's up in here as well. How are you doing, Jammy?
What's up, Jammy?
No, thank you, Xenovia. It all turned out great. All that special attention to detail with the how you say the cores and the different rocks and the tools. I think it all came out excellent. Tim from Legal, how do you do? First time in the chat. Nice to see you. A little transplanted space cadet. Oh, from Corey Ojo's channel. Nice to see you.
Welcome, welcome.
What a chill podcast indeed. Yes, welcome to the Vector Spaceman experience. I'm joined here with my co-host, Dregn Durant, fellow spaceman, friend of the show. And tonight we're talking about this and that, and also that and this. Anything that crosses our mind, really.
Exactly. We're getting our engines warmed up, and we're going to be blasting off here real soon.
Hoy, hoy, how's the Vector podcast going? Hello, Ellie. Yes, we're just chilling in, getting started here. Getting a feel for things in this new recording environment. Using the nice little recording studio, a nice little addition to the station. We got our screens going. We got our little insulated padding. We've got Dregn over there with the blue mic over here on the orange mic. We got the Spaceman. Everything's hooked up and ready to go, of course.
We are looking to get the first raccoon cadet out in space soon.
Yes. Does that make me a raccoon cadet? You're breaking new ground, Tim.
Exactly. I think we've had monkeys, dogs. We need a raccoon.
Gotta have that raccoon. I once read something, an article, I believe it was, that purported that red pandas were something like the optimal, like, spacefaring test critter or something like that. In terms of just size and temperament and what you can do with them and things like that. I don't know if it's true. Maybe they're just trying to hype up red pandas. Everybody does seem to like them a fair bit.
Yeah, they're like big pandas, but compact and colorful and not stupid. So that seems like a win to me.
The only ones I've ever seen have been pretty lazy, pretty definitely not wild ones. That's for sure.
Yeah, the traditional pandas I've only seen them hurt themselves.
That's all. Yeah. That's what you always see.
Yep, they're eating.
Red pandas are super cute. Yes.
Red pandas are adorable.
But they eat more than bamboo, so I guess you got to give them that. You got to give them credit for that. They're at least a little smarter. They're a little wiser.
So as we're getting people filtering in here, Vector, why don't we tell everyone the special call-in Discord that you've made here?
I would love to do that, to talk about that again, as we're getting more and more people joining the show. Oh, what legs we got today. Hello, Corey. We were just talking to Tim here from the Corey Ojo Show. It's nice to see more raccoons stumbling onto the program. We're doing a little podcast with Dregn tonight, and also with myself, the Spaceman, talking about this and that. And, as Dregn was just alluding to, you can also join the show yourselves, you guys, if you've got hot pressing opinions that you want to share with the wider world, or just with a couple of goofy space boys. You can go ahead and join this new Spaceline Discord channel that we've got going. You can get added to the show to talk about this and that. If you got something to say, if you got some questions for Dregn or myself, if you just want to talk about how your week's going. It's Wednesday, my dudes. I hope everybody is having a great few days so far. The weekend feels so far off sometimes. But thankfully, we've got a few good shows this week to help us break up those doldrums. We're going to be seeing Dregn back here later in the week, as well as some other friends for a little seasonal content. It's going to be good stuff.
It's going to be great stuff. You kidding me?
Great stuff. Yes. Why sell ourselves short, Dregn?
Exactly. I haven't visited Harbor Station and been disappointed once yet.
Well, there's always a first time, I suppose. But let's not... Let's not dwell on that, shall we? Now, as I was just segueing into, before we got visited by these wonderful raccoons. Oh, is it the Tim from Legal? Oh, yes. Before we got bombarded with our friends of the show here, I wanted to say some of the most pressing matters facing virtual streamers like yourself and myself and others, like a lot of these people that we find in chat here today, and perhaps they have some things they'd like to say about it. I wanted to ask you, Dregn, how you feel about some of these changes purported to be coming soon to one of our shared platforms, that being Twitter. Specifically, this business about the paid monthly surcharge for preferential commenting or post sorting or what have you. As a ex-corpo yourself, I'm sure that you must have thoughts on how it's all being handled.
Yeah, I don't really talk about how a business operates because, frankly, I guess we'll get into it. But well, so Twitter, right, obviously is now under management of Elon Co. And yeah, with that, I guess there was an interview where he made a big announcement talking about the $8 for the blue check mark, which is going to help, I guess, fund the direction of the platform, or however they're spinning it. And then we're also going to see with that comes some prioritization, so that the paid users allegedly are going to get some form of either priority or improved, I guess, visibility compared to the non-paid users, which I would argue that already happened. We just weren't told about it to what extent. So yeah, ultimately I don't know, everyone's making a big hubbub over it online, and I see the YouTube videos where people are talking about it, but I really don't think it's going to change the user's experience that much. Because ultimately the Twitter algorithm is going to still collectively show you the people that you're following and interfacing with, right? Like, it still has an algorithm that will filter virtually the same stuff that you currently see. The only difference is the addition of it might highlight some members that are now paying via quote-unquote supporting Twitter. So yeah, we'll see. What do you think?
In terms of changing the overall experience, I think you're probably right that a lot of, as you say, hubbub has been made.
Sorry about that. Wrong button.
I was gonna ask what on earth that was.
That was me hitting the wrong button as I was about to make a noise.
Okay. But I think it's been hard to recall a case of another wealthy public figure in lead of one of these tech companies receiving as much sort of public ridicule as our commenters are saying Mr. Musk has recently, in terms of selling the idea of this this change in format, in operation. Really hasn't done a great job from what I've seen. But more interestingly, I have been really struck with the range that people have been posting about alternative platforms. Hadn't realized, really been conscious up until now, of just how unique Twitter is in its experience. Because you compare it to things like Tumblr, if you've ever used that, or Facebook, or
Sure.
I suppose Instagram, things like that. Twitter is kind of unique in. I was thinking what the closest similar platform to it might be, and I was trying to. I was thinking it might be a toss-up between like Tumblr or Reddit or something like that. But Reddit, of course, you're following whole communities rather than just individual people.
Sure.
I think is the appeal of the Twitter platform. And surprisingly, there's not that many social media, how you say, platforms that do the same sort of thing quite as smoothly as this one does. And so to see it, I guess, risk losing a user base. The question is, I suppose, how necessary is Twitter when it comes to generating a following for virtual streamers such as you and myself and some of our contemporaries?
Yeah, that's I agree that Twitter is super unique in, I guess, the execution of the type of platform that it is, that other platforms have dipped their toes into but have expanded in different directions, or they've expanded in like a wider net, whereas Twitter is interesting because it has effectively just remained a open conversation platform, which others, like you mentioned, Facebook, they kind of do it through connections and they do it through groups that you can join. Reddit, you join subreddit via communities, right? But Twitter is really, I think, the one blanketly open-doored platform. And the issue that I have with a lot of these big pillars of the cyber world, I guess if you don't think of it that way, is that a lot of them,
cyber world, okay.
Yeah, because encompassing not just Twitter, but Google's and I guess Facebook to an extent, Microsoft's never-ending reach of influence, and a variety of other platforms, from YouTube to Twitter or Twitch, and maybe even to some degree TikTok. Is the issue I have with a lot of them as a whole is they need to be being such a strong pillar in these community spheres. their terms and having a core foundation for what they stand for and what's not allowed, I think is the only moderation that they should be doing. And the fact that Twitter for so long has been choosing which members are appropriate when they're not really breaking the rules is something that I wasn't a fan of. So now that the algorithm is being kind of shifted, people are being unbanned, other people in particular, allegedly, right, bots in particular, are being targeted real hard right now, I think is overall a good direction for Twitter. We'll see how it, pans out in the next year. But I think more platforms that have traditionally excluded others due to, I don't know, more like social related reasons rather than term related reasons is a fundamental mistake considering the influence that these platforms have. So I don't know. I think Twitter is going through a necessary change. Whether it's the right change, we'll see. But I think the idea of scammers and bots decreasing outweighs the negatives of having a few noisy people rejoin Twitter, because frankly there's enough noisy people on Twitter. So it's a bunch of birds chirping. Tweet.
Noisy people like us sometimes.
Exactly. But I think Twitter needs to stay unique in that regard. It's made a name for itself, and the monetization of it, I think, needs to be kind of tapered to a point where it remains a strong kind of social network rather than a business. But that's a problem for another time and for Twitter to deal with.
No, I surely hope it does. And I think two of the most vocal camps I'm seeing right now, especially when it comes to, say, people like yourself and I, virtual streamers who use it as a method of engagement for posting notifications or engaging with friends of the show, things like that, organizing, scheduling, that sort of thing, is that some people are concerned that by not opting into the paid service, that their posts will be suppressed, or that they won't be able to grow as large of a following or as consistent as a following, or things like that. Or that, and on the other side, there's people who are saying that it's probably just a scare tactic or something like that when Mr. Elon Musk talks about things like, the prioritization of posts, or you're going to have to scroll super far to see anybody not subscribed. I'm hoping, like you said earlier, that we will still see not a huge disruption to, you want to see the people that you follow. You don't want to be pushed a bunch of people that you don't know. Those recommended things are nice every now and then, but for the most part, you want to be following, the people that you follow. And that's led to what I've seen recently is a lot of people making these little sort of, I guess, bunkers, if you want to describe it as that. These little apocalyptic shelters in terms of followers, in terms of these lists that people are putting together so that they can keep track of everybody they want to.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, man, people sure are loving lists these days. Is that the core reason people are afraid that the people that they're following are going to become less frequently viewed on their pages, so they're building lists in order to keep track of people?
I think that's the idea, yes.
That might be, huh? What do you guys think? But,
what do you guys think?
But here's a fun take, which I don't have to worry about because I'm on YouTube. But I don't think anyone who's worried about visibility and discoverability on Twitter, who is a streamer that is on Twitch, has any right to be worrying about Twitter. Because Twitter, from my experience, with the exception of a very small minority of people, is horrible for discovering small talents. It's the chance exists, but the algorithm to discover, because it is a social platform, right? It's not really a discovery platform. I don't feel, how do I want to phrase this? There's only so many people that you can discover before the algorithm starts feeding you fewer and fewer new people to discover, unless you go out of your way to find those individuals, right? Expanding your reach does expand the chance of finding someone new, but from what I've seen, Twitter has a habit of creating circles based on the type of activity you perform, how you're engaging with other people on the platform. So if you're noticing a pattern that, hey, you look at a bunch of interesting imagery, you're going to see a pattern of that type of imagery become more frequent. If you find yourself frequently interacting with a particular set of individuals via, likes and retweets and whatnot, you're likely to see more of those posts show up on your feed. It's just the way the platform works. So yeah, I think the paid thing, frankly, I think it already existed. The difference is it's just blatantly being said that, hey, the algorithm prioritizes this stuff, or it's going to be made to prioritize it a bit more heavily from now on. So I don't know. I feel like people are overreacting a little bit. If it really does end up as bad as people claim it to be, naturally people will stop using it and look for alternative means, or Twitter is going to, see the decrease in user base and active users and the active time people spend on the platform, and then they'll adjust. That's how business operates, especially those in the digital sphere of this type of technology. So yeah, I'm not too worried about business. It. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the extreme angle, and I don't know if you've seen any people with this sort of opinion.
Yeah,
is that there are some people who don't want anything to do with people who are buying into the preferential tier or the monthly surcharge tier or what have you. I think that's going a little overboard. I think there's going to be a number of people who, especially artists not like us per se, but digital artists, actual visual artists and what have you, people who want to use the platform as a way to generate interest, generate a following, that sort of thing, who are going to feel like they got to keep up with the verified system or however it's put together, so that they don't risk being left out of the discovery algorithm, as it were.
I think the hard truth is that if a person wants to get discovered, there is a large laundry list of ways to improve that, and relying on Twitter for that sole reason of using the platform is short-sighted. Sorry, guys.
I don't doubt that you're right, and it got me thinking.
I'm right or I'm wrong?
No. I think you are. Yeah, there is truth in that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I was thinking about over the past few days in terms of how necessary Twitter is for virtual streamers. It's kind of become the accepted sort of de jour medium for generating exposure in a very easy way.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I'll use an example. I've seen many streamers with a smaller Twitter following than myself, for instance, who have many times more followers here on Twitch, where one would rightly argue that it matters more because you want eyes on your show after all, which would seem preferable to having eyes on, general posting or notifications or things like that. So might even argue that changes to the environment vis-a-vis a disruption to Twitter could force streamers like ourselves to be a little more committed to their actual content. You really got to work for it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's some subtle thorns in the sentence you just spurted out of that orange head of yours. No, because it's true, right? Because people who are viewers, obviously there's a group of people who strictly orbit another because they enjoy the personality, true, but a lot of that discovery or initial following or I guess spikes in growth come from either a random happenstance, a chance of a hot take or something that pops off, right? Or a random referral by who knows who.
Oh, you love it when something pops off.
Exactly. But otherwise, the thing that really, I think, sends a sign that, hey, this person is worth following is, what they're doing, right? And there are, I've talked about this on my own channel for a few sessions now, where I do think that gaming solo content is super low-hanging fruit for many of us.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Games suck. It's the worst.
It's not what I said, man. I love games. It's a lot of fun. But I think, right, if we're on the internet and we're spending our downtime to watch others, I mean, obviously, if you make a connection with a streamer or if you enjoy their personality, then more power to you. Enjoy that moment, enjoy that time, and be entertained, right? But I think most people are online looking to be amused, entertained, find something funny, find something weird, creepy, scary, see people losing their minds, or enjoying intellectual conversations, or learning about themselves or about their other, or learning about others. And I think a lot of that, and this is kind of what I've been advocating, which is getting people together, is something that I think should be more common on the internet, which a lot of platforms do that, just that. But I think VTubing in particular, streaming in particular, has a very unique, gosh, I don't fully understand the whole parasocial bullshit, but you know, it's a very neat way to connect with people. It's almost like the evolution of being a pen pal, but it's live, and it's, you know,
A pen pal.
yeah. I mean, that was short-lived in my experience, but like being able to, you know, in your case, Vector, you set up this studio, you invited me to come on your show. There's a bunch of streamers out there who are doing much of the same. Who says VTubers can't do it? Why can't we get together and have a little chit chat, or maybe join together and do some creative projects, because there's so many talented individuals out there, right? It's like, why not? So I think as far as content is concerned, VTubers have a lot more potential, and the community as a whole is really not reaching the heights that it could. Let's put it that way.
It's still a young genre, we might say.
It is.
It's still got plenty of room to grow.
And I think it has a hell of a future, as long as advertising stays away for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, just leave the biz out of it for a second. Yeah, let's do some work. Yeah.
Yep. Don't taint it yet, guys. Calm down.
Reading some of these comments, Ellie says, "You mean people would have to make content? Actually have to make content?" Kieran, let me weeb out my MySpace page. That's funny, actually, because one of the sites that I saw people floating as an alternative to Twitter, in terms of generating following and community and what have you, was actually Newgrounds, one of my favorite old sites.
That's amazing. Which
I would not have thought as a good alternative, but I know some people have made a move that actually, you know, I think it was, I really hope I'm remembering this correctly. I think it was Megan Dawn of Game Grotto recently opened up a Newgrounds account. I'm not sure what they're doing over there.
Makes
people
sense.
making moves all over the place.
Man, it's fun to see people exploring it, but man, if an old platform comes back, that is gonna blow my mind. Imagine if like MySpace came back, or Newgrounds came back. MySpace is gone, right? Or is it still around?
I don't know if it's gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I know Newgrounds is still out there, and if I see Newgrounds make a No Man's Sky comeback or some crap, that's gonna be incredible.
I think the closest that I think the only social media platform that might be a contender for a comeback would probably be something like Tumblr. Or arguably Facebook, if you think Facebook has fallen off already.
Oh no, Facebook. I'm fairly confident that Facebook is not going to be what comes back. I think.
No.
I think enough people have noped out of Facebook. I think the older generation that is stuck on Facebook is starting to get tired of it, or dying off. And then I think the younger audience is definitely not going to Facebook. So yeah, I don't see a long future for Facebook.
I think personally, yeah, I only still use it for group messages that have been around for years. So we've just never moved to and so I suppose in that sense, it's not even Facebook that I use. It's just the messenger service.
Yeah, I know people who do that,
It's
right?
its own independent thing. Yeah.
Yep. But people use that because, you know, there was a period where, or at least a point in time where people had connected with everyone that they knew and discovered, you know, old friends that had parted ways after, you know, various milestones in a person's life. And then, yeah, that's like the only place they know where to connect. So people just use it to chat from time to time, I suppose.
Ellie says, if people go back to Tumblr, I can hold up the welcome back cheater sign because I never left. Tumblr, yeah. Were you ever on that site, Dragon?
I was not. No, I'm actually... maybe I've voiced this before. I'm actually very new to social media, which is
Just
ironic.
in general.
Yeah, which is ironic because, you know, I came from the cybersecurity space for many years, and You'd think that I'd be connected everywhere, but no, I think the more you know about the internet, the less you actually want to be on the internet. But the problem is,
True.
yeah, if you want to engage in, you know, the creative space, then you kind of have to. Otherwise, no one. Well, going back a little bit to that Twitter conversation we're having earlier in the discoverability, I know a couple of YouTubers that stream, and they don't use Twitter much at all. They actually use YouTube, TikTok, and Reddit, and that is their social circle. So, yeah, Twitter, we'll see what happens with it. But all these platforms,
see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's talk is cheap, and if people start moving, then I'll start paying attention.
DeviantArt, guys, that's where we're going. Back to the beginning.
Back to the beginning. Or perhaps we work on a different place altogether. We'll see.
Ooh, there you go.
We'll see.
Pog DeviantArt. I was actually surprised. I actually had forgotten that I had a Vector Spaceman Tumblr page already made up, or I guess reserved would be the better word for it, in that we have an address over on that site from before we even got started with this streaming dealio. I thought, well, maybe we'll use that. And then we never got around to it, but you know, it's still kicking there. So who knows? Maybe you'll see us over there some days.
Did you ever have a place that you uploaded your little sketches? I'm sure you must have sketched once upon a time, considering how much you have created in the short time online.
Sketches in the sense of artwork, or sketches in the sense of animation?
Either, both.
Either, both, I suppose. Well, yeah, I did use, how you say, Newgrounds back in the day on different accounts. And generally the kind of artwork that I would do, I would just post it to different communities. So it wasn't really a central thing. Like, I never had a DeviantArt account, which was the big one back in the day. I always, and this is how out of touch I am at this point, I did not realize how different the webcomic scene is nowadays until very recently.
What do you mean?
When I was, well, I'll tell you, back in my day when I wanted to start making webcomics of my own, because I thought that was a really cool thing to do, because I was a big fan of series like Penny Arcade and VG Cats and Control Alt Delete and all, you know, all those video game theme ones.
Sure.
Player versus player, this and that, yeah. Mac Hall, all the good ones. Everybody had their own, how you say, like website. That was the website for that comic, and if you wanted to read the comic, you went to that website. Nowadays, apparently, it has become so centralized. People are using this platform called Webtoons that the term webcomic itself has sort of fallen out of favor. That the term webtoon has almost become synonymous with what I would consider a webcomic back in the day.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because back in the early days, everyone, if you wanted to share something online, well, you generally had to make your own place for it. But now there are
website,
now there are platforms where you can go to help with the management side of it. Also, you don't have to deal with the web side of it. You just deal with the comic and you upload, and that is the place that you upload. It's much like streamers and choosing, you know, Twitch and Twitter, or Twitch and YouTube.
It's a great idea for the artists, but I don't know. Part of me feels like it loses that little sense of like self-contained, because every website, you know, had its own flair, had its own art style, had its own community to go along with it. This is back in the day when, you know, everybody had their own forums and things like that too, which you definitely don't see anymore these days, now that you got subreddits and big mass communities like that.
I do miss those days of the internet, because that was an earlier way of thinking about it, which again, you get on the internet and it was you, and you had a place.
It was just you.
It was the age of GeoCities and MySpace, right? The YouTube instead of what it is today. It was a different ecosystem back then, Spaceman. MapQuest. that was a budding age of the internet and the independence that surfed the web.
The Wild West days, as it were.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, what we've lost.
Corey
says, kind of felt like we had more of a community. Yeah, it kind of does feel like that sometimes.
I think it's just different. Maybe that's the corpo in me talking, because as much as I dislike the direction of how marketing and advertising and corporations have kind of shifted the internet, the users are really what kind of drove that to happen, right? So it's kind of, we wanted it as a whole, so that's the direction it took. Because if enough people were interested in creating their own spaces still, then things would have been a little different.
Yeah, it just got too hard for folks. Kids these days, they just can't keep up. They can't grok that old web foo, as it were.
I think it's different too, because I know when I was much younger, I don't know, like going to the internet, that was the way. If you wanted to be seen, you had to, you know, put your hand to the cement and mold your print on the web. But
make sure you ask for parental permission before going online, you guys.
Everyone was born on January 1st. What do you mean? But yeah, I don't know what caused that shift. This was potentially going to be a 2-hour conversation diving into that. So I don't know if you want to keep going down this road with me, but yeah, I don't know. The internet has definitely taken a change or a turn, but I think that's because the business world came into play. I think that's all it was.
That business.
Yep.
People like you, Dregn. People
like me.
You ruin it for the rest of us with your corporate sensibilities, trying to squeeze money out of everything. Jeez Louise.
I mean, don't even get me started on that conversation, man. If business is operated for the goal of good rather than the goal of growth, then man, how things would be different now.
Corey's saying, kind of on a similar note, I don't know if you guys heard, but I guess the US is deciding on whether or not to keep TikTok. So a lot of people are moving to YouTube Shorts as a form of short form media, because TikTok might go bye-bye.
That's a good thing.
That's right. I've read about that as well. Because, of course, people have had, you know, I guess, anxieties surrounding TikTok and the amount of information that gets shared with other countries, or one specific country, I should say. And what ends up happening to that data, and should it be, you know, a platform that's allowed in the US and other territories, when in a very similar vein, other countries are, you know, pretty regularly block US developed apps from being used within their own borders. So it's not the most unheard of thing, but it's not as common something that you see in terms of legislation for the US and similar Western countries.
Yeah, I can't speak for where you're from, but in good old,
it's fairly similar. It's fairly similar.
Yeah, fairly. But they like to talk a big hubbub. Like, I don't know why I'm saying hubbub today, but they like to
love to say hubbub.
They like to make a big stink about topics, and then they never actually vote it into law. But yeah, I got strong opinions about TikTok, not just from a data perspective, but from a psychological perspective. The consuming that type of content.
They really have mastered like short-term fixation in terms 100%. Of media consumption, haven't they?
It's actually done
with
through the algorithm. It's actually super scary genius what they pulled off with it.
That's how you love to describe tech stuff, isn't it? Super scary genius.
Kind of,
Those mesh so well together. Yeah.
One of my favorite joke sayings is, one day when the world ends, it'll end with the scientist saying, "Oops."
Oops. And that'll be it.
That'll be it.
Roll curtains.
Exactly. But TikTok is fascinating because there's several YouTube channels that talk about the behaviors that TikTok kind of reinforces, and the biological impact that it causes by using the app, and how that short form content actually people are starting to see that there might be some long-term issues that we're going to have by consuming that type of content. Yep.
No. But that it would affect your ability to, I don't know, to focus or to
not
pay
even
attention.
Focus, but it actually was shown to disrupt like your dopamine levels, and the reason for it is that they actually found that the TikTok algorithm follows a lot of similarities to gambling addictions. Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen studies about this or talks about it, they talk about the TikTok algorithm and how for every video that it shows, right, the algorithm that TikTok has, I think, is arguably one of the best out there in capturing like what a person is going to be interested in and getting them to view it. But what TikTok does, that's kind of, again, that scary genius idea, is they'll actually feed you a couple of subpar videos before sending you one that's like really popping off and is likely to get your attention.
Oh, that's just insidious.
Yeah, so they'll actually kind of reel you in and get you hoping for, okay, where's the next video that I'm going to stop scrolling on? And oftentimes what they'll find is that the one you stop scrolling on is actually intended through the algorithm to be the one that you stay for. So yeah, it's like psychological warfare, that platform, and people don't realize it, but I'm glad people are starting to see it.
That's a pretty good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's not really any worse than any major social media. This kind of algorithm is everywhere nowadays. It is, but the issue with TikTok is the type of content and how that content is consumed and what that cycle does to your psyche. Other social media platforms do that to a lesser extent, but I think any use of the mobile device is actually more of a core issue than the platforms that we use on the devices, right? Because the issue is this small little screen that everyone's walking around looking at, and we're always connected to a computer screen and fast moving objects and all these little cuts and text on the screen, right? It's all intended. It's all proven scientifically, psychologically, to have like a reason behind it or an effectiveness to it. And that's what I hate about advertising, is that they go into the psychology of all of this, and the channels that do it right generally are employing some of these tactics, which is what
he's a reformed corpo, you guys. He's not he's not behind any of this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just the patterns that I've seen and the stories that I've observed and the trends that I've noticed, and I get it. I don't like it. I would love to change it, but I'm just one small spaceman in a vast
little space
empty
man.
space.
I feel that.
But it is a fascinating topic.
We got a pretty, how you say, consensus. We got a consensus in the chat here. TikTok is trash. I lose brain cells. TikTok makes me uncomfortable. Xenovia saying, I kind of feel like it's not really worse than any major social media. Kind of algorithms everywhere nowadays, isn't it? And yeah, I think Dragon spoke to that as well. That's kind of an issue in and of itself. Now, I've not used TikTok. Maybe you guys in the chat can inform me better. Is it limited in the size of the videos you can put on it? Is it kind of like Vine in that sense, where you got to stay under like a minute or something like that?
I've been off of it for a while now. I want to say it goes up to like 3, 5, or 10 minutes. I don't remember. It used to be super short. It used to be, I want to say, less than a minute originally, or maybe even less than that, like super short. But after it gained popularity, yeah, they increased the time. But man, I used TikTok for about a month and a half, and I never installed TikToks because coming from security, I was like, no way I'm installing this app on my phone. But you know, I became a VTuber. I was like, shit, I gotta do it. So I did it.
Gotta put yourself out there somehow. Yep. Oh well, actually, now that reminds me. Yeah, I put a couple videos on there. I do have an account. That's right.
There you go.
Again, yeah, I only used it for like a week or two. Put on some clips from a couple of streams, and I just didn't keep up with it because we got too many other things to worry about. Jeez, it's hard being a weird little spaceman on the internet, Dragon.
It is a little difficult.
Why did we choose to do this?
You know, I always crack up offline because there were so many easier and more cost-effective ways to be a streamer.
Right? We could have had animal ears. We could have been, you know, generic, like likable characters. But no, we had to be weird science dudes.
Not only that, but I mean, you had the fortune of, you know, doing a lot of the work yourself, and your only investment was a time in a dream. But
that's true.
You know.
Yeah.
There's many like me who are out there doing things out of pocket, and I gotta say, man, I should have just bought the camera, bought the mic, gone live, and Hell, there's gaming streamers out there who don't even, you know, show themselves. So, man,
Oh, I see. I see.
VTubing.
You don't even have to worry about your face. You
Yeah,
can just be a voice. A voice
exactly.
in the ether.
People love the smooth voice. Hell, you could have probably pulled it
Mm-hmm.
off too. But yeah,
Just wait, you guys. Vector Spaceman 4.0. Once we're done with the 3D reveal, it'll just be me in real life with the helmet on. We'll 3D print out a helmet and we'll just go to town.
there we go. He'll always tease that he's going to take it off, but he'll never pull it off all the way without it going to black.
Well, no, I mean we don't want to ruin some of the mystery. Come on, we gotta have mystery in this world,
Yeah.
Dragon. Mystery.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Can't be revealing the secret. It'll ruin the surprise, much like learning the trick to a magic act.
Right? Xenovia saying, still finding it funny that an entire ecosystem of space-themed VTubers spawned out of thin air in the same month. It was all pretty close together. We were discussing that the other night as well when we were on Nef Stream, how close we were in, what would you say, debut in launch, as it were, from one another. But yeah, you know what? We're just like-minded people. That's what it is. We're just so smart, so clever.
Very
we
clever.
all had this stupid idea to be space-themed streamers all at the same time. Really says something about all of us, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got to shoot for the stars. It's funny because I've noticed.
Shoot for the stars.
Exactly. Maybe we'll land on the moon. Hell, maybe even Mars. Who knows?
Maybe even Mars.
Maybe even. But yeah, I've seen like sci-fi tubers. Those guys are cool too. I've seen robo-tubers and android tubers.
Robos.
And all sorts of fun sci-fi folk. But man, people actually having spaceships and space stations, that interestingly has just been kind of our circle that I've really seen. It's interesting.
We love folks with space stations. Ellie says it's just like finding your friends in a cafeteria. That's right.
Oh,
Off
that's
in the corner, the table full of weirdos. Yep. Eating their cheese sandwiches, playing Magic the Gathering, you know, keeping their heads down.
What bunch of nerds.
Bunch of nerds, right?
It's funny. I was actually speaking with the dude in a parking lot that I've met a
weird.
couple
Go on,
times.
though.
Well, listen, I like going out during the day, and
All right.
I'm not against, you know, chatting with a stranger, but the I don't know why, but Comic-Con had come up as a talking point, and the dude didn't strike me as someone who was into that kind of stuff. But man, he was talking about how cool it is that people would dress up, and he's never been, but he wants to go. But yeah, for anyone out there who's never been to Comic-Con down in San Diego, California, you don't even need tickets. You just need to be in the city, and there is enough going on
I see.
that you get the full experience. The only reason to go inside is if you want to buy stuff.
All that merch.
Exactly.
Or you want to say panel or something.
Panels,
get some sneak peek, some trailer or something you want to see. Yeah.
But half the time,
But then you just watch it online anyways, like a minute later, so it's fine.
Exactly. Hell, half the times they're live streaming the dang thing now, so you know.
Right?
But yeah. What is it? So yeah, that came up, and it got me thinking. It's like, man, nerds really are the coolest culture out there, because it doesn't matter if you're a weeb or a gamer. Sometimes it matters. Or you're just a very cultured individual, you know, whatever.
Yes, a man of culture.
Exactly. You know the umbrella I'm talking about. But we're all hanging out under this umbrella, and everyone else out there is
umbrella, Ella.
Yeah. But everyone else out there is too busy fighting each other because it's red team versus blue team or whatever the deal. It's like, calm down, guys.
Another classic series.
We got games to play. We got shows to watch. We got feelings that be had and whatnot. So and things to make.
Feelings.
No, I definitely don't. Once upon a time, weeb affection, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting and heartwarming community.
Heartwarming?
Yes. And it's funny because everyone has their bad apples, but we got some spicy boys out there, and
oh, do we?
People who like to talk trash and that kind of trash talkers and bullies and what have you out there. But some are a bit more aggressive than others, but overall I think everyone's out there to have good fun, right?
Boy, I can't wait to see who's going to be the first space-themed streamer to go off the rails and get canceled, you guys. Looking forward to it.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
we should all speed run it, see who can get there first.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge. I got nothing to lose.
Speaking of which, here comes Neff. Nice to see you in the chat, Neff. Hope you're having yourself a great night. I win for sure.
Man. Neff, how long did it take you to recover from your self-inflicted cringe fest?
Did you have a good night last night after your big special show, Neff? Remember, everybody, that Neff was just celebrating 1.0833 repeating years of streaming, and it was a great little show, and Dregn and I got to be part of it, and we were oh so happy to be there, and she said nice things, which was weird, but you know what? It was a great time overall.
Which great things. Yeah, can we get some trues in the chat?
Can we get some trues in the chat, you guys? Trues for Neff, everybody now. Everybody, true. There we go.
Oh man, live reactions is great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I haven't even watched it yet, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, that was fun doing. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
Now, Dregn.
Yes, Vector.
Winter is almost upon us. If we might pivot into a new topic of discussion here. It's time for another season of themed content for many creators.
Oh boy, I'm ready for Halloween.
You can always tell when people start taking extended breaks that they've usually got stuff in the works. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming up over the next month or two, that's for sure. Now, your tabletop game just went on pause for a little while as well, didn't it?
It did. I had teased the idea to my members, but the Sunday Horizon Exploration campaign, which is it's a D&D campaign flavored for sci-fi that I run with 5 good buddies of mine. But yeah, we decided to take a break. You know, holiday seasons are coming up. It's just going to get harder to do scheduling. And yeah, I figure rather than, you know, playing it by ear for, you know, making sure that the people who are, you know, part of that group can go out and enjoy the holidays with friends and family, and we don't have to stress about being around on a Sunday night when other plans might be around the corner. Yeah, we were running into some scheduling conflicts leading into November anyways, so I just made the call. It's like, you know what? We talked about it. Let's take that break. I got some other things to focus on anyways, and we got the holidays. So yes, we sure did take a break, but in the meantime, then yeah, we got plenty of other things behind closed doors that we can be doing leading
stuff
to the next
Very
year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, when will we see you back on that? Because I was thinking, how long has that been going on? I can hardly think of a week that you guys missed doing your Horizon Explorations game.
There were a couple where we took a break, but it is something that we started back in, I want to say it was February 20 of this year, so 20 of 22. And yeah, I think we've done at least 3 episodes a month on average. So it's been a good run. We actually got to a nice little hold where the party landed on the planet. Everyone got used to kind of these new sci-fi reflavored rules. They met a group, went around with them for a little while, eventually, you know, departed and went to the first major city, which was a night and day difference. So that was fun seeing their reactions to that. Did a few side jobs in Night City, not quite, but
Night City.
but then yeah, we actually decided to take the break just as they were planning to depart to the next, I guess, major point of interest. So we're gonna kick that back up,
as it were.
Yeah, exactly, and we're gonna pick that back up in January. So, but yeah,
fun.
Why you bringing up that show?
I was just talking about, you know, the different things that people are doing. I was thinking, I had a question that I wanted to ask you,
Sure.
Not necessarily just in terms of, you know, the winter themed things that'll be coming up in the near future, but also looking forward into the general future, 2023, and perhaps beyond even. What would you say, Dregn, is your current, let's say, dream project within the virtual streaming scene? What's one project that you'd like to participate in or produce that would have you saying, well, you know, that's it, I've peaked, time to wrap this up, or at least serve as like a milestone, perhaps, towards even more ambitious ideas?
Well, I'd love to give you a short answer, but none of my answers are ever truly quite as short as I make them out to be. So, gosh, that's a loaded question, Vector. I don't know if I
don't know if it's a loaded question. I think it's
No,
a big question, perhaps.
It is a big question. So, it's funny. I was thinking about this I think yesterday, about, man, trying to get ideas on paper sure is a lot easier thought than done. But part of the reason I struggle with it is because my ideas compound. And what I mean by that is I don't, man, the way this is going to get into maybe a little bit of the way I look at things. And I don't know when this started or what the deal is, but I'll consider the path that a decision would cause me to take, and the likelihood of, you know, a few variations of that path, and then I'll do that over and over and over until I hit a particular like milestone, and I'll generally plan it like 3 milestones ahead. So yeah, I have a hard time planning like things short notice, which is funny because I grew up with a family that would just like spontaneously be like, hey, tomorrow we're gonna go camping for 3 days, bye. and we would just all go in like a nights of preparing. But yeah, as I don't know, as I grew older, I started, you know, getting very meticulous with like planning things out, as especially once I started working. You know, it was probably work that messed me up. That's probably what it was. But yeah, so as far as
learned behavior from the corporate sphere,
I know it's what it is. It's not even learned. I think it's programmed into you. Just like,
even worse.
Like feel the grind, become the grind. You are the wheel that makes it turn. I don't know, but yeah, big dream is to reshape the streaming world. And
wow, listen to this guy.
Yeah, that's the big dream, at least. But in order to get there, there's a few things that need to happen first. I think the first step that comes next, aside from starting this little HiVECORE initiative, is getting the word out there. So come 2023, after I've sorted out a few details with a few folks and gotten a few takes and spoken to a couple people outside of the group in the real world where business takes place. Yep. If it feels good, then we're gonna try to, you know, start with a small pebble across the lake, and hopefully it starts snowballing into something that we can grow and do it for a right reason, for a right cause, and with 10, 20, 30 years down the line in mind. So yeah, my head goes that far, but I know that was a very vague surface answer, but
couple of mixed metaphors there, but I think I get the idea.
But the challenge obviously is going to be to act on it, right? That I think this is an issue that a lot of people have, and it's something that I know I struggle with, which is, again, talk is cheap. You gotta produce, and the same thing goes with streaming. Streaming is easy, content is hard. So I
guess that's true. Yeah, you gotta make stuff, you guys. Come on.
Exactly, we gotta make things, or if you're not making things yet, right? Hone a skill. That's something that I worry about. It's a bit of a segue, but I do worry about. Kieran, you're saying everything is content. Everything is content.
And everything is content.
But everything is content. There are tiers of content, right? You can't reject the hierarchy of content that the internet has deemed worthy, and not necessarily unworthy, but lesser.
Dregn, I want your take on something here.
Okay, hit me with it.
In terms of everything is content, there have been some people that I've seen once, I'll say, because I never go back to streams like this, and I don't know if it's just because I'm out of touch with what comedy is these days, or what the youth is into.
Oh boy.
But I just find that there's a number of streamers, and I won't name names because I can't remember them, because I'll see their content and then I'll tune out entirely.
Yeah.
But to me, screaming is not content. In terms of, I've seen a bunch of streams where I guess it almost feels like a forced sense of chaotic energy that as soon as the slightest thing starts to go amiss, that they'll just lean into, I guess, this sense of catastrophe, and then everything breaks loose. It seems like it generates a lot of reaction out of their chats that they're engaged with. They seem to be having a good time, but it almost seems like it's just that just seems disingenuous. I don't know. Have you seen anything that sort of relates to what I'm describing here?
Yeah, I think streaming should require you to be 21 years or older to perform.
Didn't quite mean it like that, but
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't personally encountered too many screams, but I do know it's interesting because I think there are clips of moments like that happening where somebody freaks out, but I do find, I don't know. I hung out in such mixed groups that I know that when someone who is socially awkward gets excited and they want to express it, sometimes it comes out just as like a disingenuous scream of noises. So perhaps my perspective is like, because I haven't seen it, I don't know if it like comes across as like, okay, they're just, you know, being emotional and trying to be expressive, whether it comes off genuine or not.
It seems like Ellie might know what I'm talking about, but
yeah,
something you just said
but
kind of puts an idea in my head where you say that, yeah, you see, you know, clips or compilations or stuff where this sort of behavior gets, I guess, well regarded and popularized and spread about, and so maybe it's a case of bandwagoning into sort of, you know, emulating this behavior as ways like, oh well, this is what streamers are, this is what streamers do. I don't know. Again, I'm not terribly engaged with other streamers, unfortunately, so I don't keep up to date with what a whole lot of my contemporaries, if we might use that term, are up to, besides of course, you know, present company excluded and folks in the chat who I like to watch all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, in just in terms of like how would you say, the most popular streamers or things like that, I don't know anything about them, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe this will segue a little bit into kind of what we were just talking about to an idea I have about it, which is I have seen a few clips though where it's just someone's losing their mind. Maybe they're having a great time. I hope they're having a great time, but for me, it's like there's too many decibels. Yeah, there's too many decibels. I can't handle it. Like if I want to watch an exciting video, it better start with heavy metal and then end with screaming. Whereas if it starts with, you know, just talking and then a meme reaction pops up and then you're yelling the next clip on a hard cut, yeah, no, I'm out of there. No, thank you. But that's my taste of things, I suppose. But
yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at.
I am curious with some of the popularity of a handful of, I guess you can call them, the mainstream streamers, where most of them
streamers, if you will,
mainstreamers. Yeah, there we go. There, I like it. But yeah, a lot of them are pretty mellow. A lot of them are pretty subtle, and a lot of them, good on them for finding an audience.
Good on them.
Yes, I have seen at least one that seems overly exaggerated, and I'm more curious about the audience that likes watching them.
That's a good point.
Because the personality didn't strike me as one that would warrant a following, but yet they do. So I'm more curious, like, from the audience, it's like, why, if you do watch them, what's fun about them, and are you over 18? I have a feeling that there's a correlation between a few age brackets, because
it's a shame you can't peer into other folks' demographics, huh?
Yeah, if only social media platforms were transparent.
All the things you could learn. Yes.
It always cracked me up how businesses will tell you not to share your salary with your peers, but it's like, so we want to be kept in the dark, I see, okay.
But what if you want to brag and rub it in?
I know.
How else are you going to do that?
I was more coming from the perspective, man, wouldn't humanity be in a different league right now if we all kind of knew where we fit in the grand order of things?
Maybe that too. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe that too. Maybe that too. But yeah, there's a variety of streamers out there. Very interesting personalities. I think we got to keep in mind there's thousands of us, and no one streamer, no one viewer even, is going to be able to follow the circle of not even the circle, the vast darkness, and plucking the stars from what they could, reach. But I don't know. I think this is one of the reasons why, again, I'm also looking at this HiVECORE initiative that we occasionally talk about, because
don't forget about HiVECORE, you guys. Make sure you're, well, I guess there's really no way to follow HiVECORE at the moment because we don't really even have a Twitter or social media presence for the HiVECORE group as a whole, do we? Just the individual members.
We don't. I'm debating how that should be formulated, because although a Twitch or a YouTube for Project HiVECORE would be easy to kind of bring everyone together, I also don't want Project HiVECORE to become just like any other VTuber agency, if you know what I mean, where they're just promoting like their core members or their only members, because the idea I have for HiVECORE is less of an agency and literally a community for the community. So I'm sounding a little blown out. I mean, that could be my side, though. My audio doesn't come through nearly as
turn your headphones down then, you punk.
Nearly as smooth when I'm on Discord for some reason. But yeah, so what was I getting at? Because with all the variety of streamers and the different viewers, I mean, the viewers will find something that they're interested in. They'll stick around to the personality that they grow attached to or the content that they're interested in, right? That's natural. That's understandable. And then
that's natural.
Yeah. And from the streamer's perspective, I mean, you got to remember, you're literally competing against thousands of people. And not to mention thousands, no joke, maybe even tens of thousands. If we start looking globally, not to mention, what is it, like a good, was it 40%? No, it's like 25% actually. I think 25% of YouTube traffic comes from the Western audience. So yeah, there's a massive audience globally, and you're competing globally, even if your audience might filter into the the local language. It's a big world out there, the same struggles that we see in the business world with people trying to get jobs. It's all about experience, and when it comes to streamers, it boils down to the content or what you produce, and what you produce might be the entertainment you provide via yourself, right? So yeah, I think
nuts. Now I'm gonna have to learn to make jokes in other languages.
Oh, you totally should. That'd be hilarious. Just voice over yourself in Spanish and in French, and then
do my own dubbing.
yeah
with terrible accents.
Yep. When you're gonna join us on the Vector Spaceman experience, hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times, and then whatever gibberish they say after that. But
it's a globe-trotting ride. Yeah,
that's right. But I think one thing I want to promote, at least as part of the message of Project HiVECORE, is I think VTubers talk about grouping up and making friends, but making friends is something you do personally. And that's something on the internet
the lab.
That's something, well, it depends, I guess, what lab we're talking about. But making friends takes time, and until that time naturally presents itself, band together, make something cool. Vector, do you know about Game Jam? Have you ever heard of Game Jam?
I don't know the concept of a game jam. Is there literally an organization called Game Jam?
I don't know if there's an organization behind it, but the concept of a game jam, right, is people will come together, and generally, I never really found out who hosts these game jams, but the game jam is, people come together in the game development world, whether you're a student, some people are actually maybe trying to get into the industry, and over like a 72-hour period, you would make a game. Literally,
it was quite popular when I was in university.
Oh, I actually
for a long time. Yeah.
I actually partook in one, and my team actually managed to put a game out, which was very cool, and that was a very strong experience for me. And Xenovia, I was using VTubers for friends. Well, you've made a few, but I bring up Game Jam because I think something that we could promote, and this is something that I would like to promote as part of HiVECORE in 2023, is a streamer VTuber content jam.
Content jam.
Yeah, because there's a ton of independents out there. Some of these VTubers do musics. A lot of them do artwork. A lot of them don't do anything. Some of them are aspiring.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely
they don't
nothing.
do a darn thing.
Exactly, right? Come on. But of the ones that don't really have much that they're putting out there, there are the subset who are, as much as I cringe at ASMR, like they're using their voice, right, for their audience. Others are aspiring to do voice acting.
Using their voice, getting real close to the mic and saying weird stuff with weird microphones that really accentuate what you hear, you guys. It's odd stuff.
Vector, stop that. It's kind of creepy.
No.
Save it for after dinner, my dude.
Gross.
All right, we're done with that. But yeah, that's an idea that as part of Project HiVECORE, I haven't really talked too much about what type of initiatives we want to do, right? Because and I'm talking about Project HiVECORE a lot because it's all I got, god damn it. But
it's all he's got, you guys. Give him a break.
I don't even have legs. Come on.
No legs. He's just a man with ideas.
But we could do it. It's something that can be done. Vector, you've already done it by yourself, so why not bring people together to do it? Now, that said, it can't be hand-holding, right? Game Jam, when I had done it, it was form a team. Here's the idea that we're all going to be working on. And then the teams are welcome to interpret it how they wish. And they were responsible for seeing it to completion. And like our team barely made it. And man, poor programmer. I think his name was like Adler or something like that. But we had
one guy.
We had
one programmer.
One programmer in 72 hours who took the art asset. I think we had like 4 or 5 artists, which was too many in hindsight. And
but what were the rest of you doing the whole time?
Well, normally these teams are supposed to be like 3 to 5 people. We had like 8 people. So I was acting as like a project manager, though I did a subpar job. There was another guy who actually had some industry experience in hindsight, or at least he was penetrating the industry, and he got to, he actually carried a lot of the weight, I think. There were a couple of guys that were doing effects. There were a handful of guys doing 3D modeling. I think there was one guy doing...
Sure, yeah, you gotta have your artists.
Yep. Most of them were 3D modelers, and then like one programmer. So all in all, yeah, it was like 2, 1, and then the rest were artists, modelers. So like our team was actually like twice the size of like the average team, funny enough. And I think we actually got like a slap on the wrist or something afterwards, being like, oh, that was
overmanaged, bureaucratic, hardly
something
get anything
like
done.
That. Who knows?
Missing deadlines.
But it was a cool experience because, you know, it was like on the group to do it, and I was in a position where I got to kind of see everyone working on different things, and at the end play through what they had made, and it was cool. It was very cool, and I was humbled by how little I knew of the process at the time. So yeah, it was very cool. And I think, right, as kind of a community, I don't know, the VTubing community as a whole is I would argue more cutthroat than the business world, because so many people kind of get looked at like you would a homeless person walking down the street.
A homeless person?
Yes. You guys are just streaming with no home. Oh, so I don't know where you guys are from, but where I'm from, it's more urban, suburban, and as much as
California boy.
Yeah, as much as I try to, you know, help out a person in need, you know, when you're walking down the street and there's too many homeless people to support, you can't really do much about it, unfortunately, right? So there's a lot of people who
there's
would
too many VTubers, is what he's saying.
Oh, no,
you can't do anything about it.
Stop twisting my words, goddammit. But what I want to do with Project HiVECORE is try to reach out and expand this organically as much as possible, where people are helping others. So rather than, you know, individual raindrops splashing in a pond and the ripples of their interaction are what, you know, causes it to mesh, I think it'd be much cooler if VTubers lent a hand out to one another and created a more of a chain link, impenetrable, you know, chess chainmail or something. I don't know.
For all these homeless streamers, is the idea?
Man, rude. This guy. Calling us homeless. You know, if anyone's homeless, it's me. But no, it's the thought here, right, is there's a lot of small, talented people who...
So small, so talented.
So small, so talented. Is that why Vector's half the size of everyone else?
Double the talent.
Double the talent. There we go. The math checks out. But yeah, anyways, as part of the idea, right? Much in the way that Vector, you have kind of gathered people to work on this project, and you've, by including others, you've elevated, I think, what you've done and found kind of motivation and pride in doing so. I think creating an environment where others could do the same, or if they are looking to do the same, find a place where like-minded individuals can gather to do the same, would be worthwhile. And yeah,
it's an interesting thought process, and you know what? It's something that I kind of touched on last night when we were on Neff's show, when I was saying near the end of the program how I hoped that doing that little not so special as she put it would, you know, sort of motivate her to do, you know, bigger stuff, cooler stuff, keep doing, you know, special broadcasts and anniversary shows and themed streams and things like that.
Exactly.
You know, keep trying new stuff, keep expanding. And I think that's something that can be said for everybody. We should all be trying to continually improve and what have you. That's just good sense, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, streamers, right, can do collaborations because, you know, you want to enjoy the time with one another, maybe get to know them a little bit, see what kind of gamer they are, see if they can handle the trash talk. But outside of that, you know, I do find...
If you can't handle the trash, it's just not going to work out.
Exactly. I mean, you're on the internet. You got to be able to handle some of what's out there, some of the unmentionables. But yeah, let's...
There's a lot of weird stuff out there, Space Cadets.
There really is. Don't look into it. But, what was I saying? Yeah, get together, do things. Make it happen.
This notion that you're orbiting around, if we might use more space terms, that you're circling around here. It's something that we actually touched on briefly during the last impromptu collaborative stream that we did over on your channel. I think it was just about a week ago, your little midday semi-podcast type program. And which was, you know, getting streamers to produce, you know, a little bit of content for a bigger show that can be, you know, showcased almost like a game jam, but more like a content jam, if you will. And I think at the time I had said, you know, that's something that I had also considered doing as a bigger special down the line. So I don't want to overhype the idea, but I think coming up this year, 2023, probably spring or summer or something like that, we'll try to do like a virtual streamer, how you say, like talent show type special broadcast, where everybody puts together, you know, a little piece, a little skit, a little thing of content. It could be short form, long form. It could be, I guess it could be anything really. It'll be an opportunity to really branch out and get everybody motivated to contribute and wrap it all around, I guess, tied together with my idea for this was to do almost like a Muppet Show type of format, where you've got our hosts and we've got little skits in between the different segments where other people could contribute all their creations and just have a real fun time with it. And I think that's gonna probably be, after this upcoming Christmas special, my next big special.
Hell yeah.
I think instead of holiday stuff, we're going to be branching out and trying some new things as well.
Into the new year.
It's going to be a fun year, you guys, definitely.
100%.
And we're going to be dragging everybody along with us.
Whether you like it or not, so buckle up. YouTubers are just Muppets to you, Vector.
Yeah, you got to make them talk. You got to make them move around. You got to make them do the funny stuff. They got to wah. Yeah.
Wah. Vector, you know all about that.
Wah. Get the arms flailing.
Yep. So yeah, anyways, ideas and getting together to do things. And, you know, it's as much as I talk about it, we're hoping to, again, in the mid-November timeframe, have something out for initially a closed group of individuals. And then come December, start planning for what we're going to do into 2023. And then in 2023, we're going to try to kick off some We'll call it a call to action.
Stuff.
We'll try something there.
Oh, a call to action. Interesting choice of words.
Exactly. Yep. You know what it means. We all know what it means. Or at least if you don't know what it means, then you're too young still. We'll tell you when you're older. Yeah. Anything else that you're thinking about, Vector, for the end of the year, coming up to next year? Project
Well,
that you
for
like
the end
to
of
work
the
on?
year, well, I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it maybe a half dozen times. Is that we've got the Christmas special to look forward to. That's going to be coming up next month, middle of next month sometime. We're working on finalizing the script for that right now. We've got a bunch of actors lined up for that. It should be another fine show. I'm looking to try some new stuff with it, some new animation techniques, put in some new effects, get my keep pushing my limited animation talents to make cool new scenes and cool new effects and cool new storylines. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think I think it's going to be a good time.
Well, I gotta
Once
say,
we do finally get it all put together.
your model looks really great with it zoomed in like that. Look at that. You can see all
You think so?
all the little
thank
bits
you
and
so
pieces, the
much.
jiggly mic and the
My jiggly
coloring on the
mic and
helmet.
my zipper and everything. Yep. The mic bob, all that. We've only really got 3 or 4 points of physics on the model. The arms move a little bit when I shake them. Then
But
we
it
got the
works.
zipper, and then we got the mic arm on the helmet.
Zoom ins are the best.
But it works, and
Yeah.
you can really see the faux 3D effect on the helmet when we turn from side to side. Really, really pleased with this model.
Very cool. Super cool. I like it a lot.
But that's another thing that we talked about during the Halloween special when we were outlining stuff to look forward to this year, is that we're going to be dabbling with a little 3D modeling as well as we work toward the Vector Spaceman 3.0 model. That'll be something that should be finished sometime during 2023. Once we get done with this present project and future projects and find time for more projects. Kinda not leaving myself a whole lot of room to work with, but we're going to try to get it all done.
Well, if anything, you've proven that you can, so I believe in the Spaceman.
We believe the zoom-ins are the best. Oh, thank you, Kieran. Here's another gratuitous zoom-in for you.
All right, while Vector is
Up
playing
close
with his
with Spaceman.
controls, I need to bio, so I will BRB.
No.
I know.
A fun time. They've added some new stuff to it that I can't wait to try out. Take a little break, do some fun stuff. Oh, look who's back. Look who's back again.
I've returned. What does that actually look like? I didn't even see. Oh, I'm just creeping up from under the
Just
table.
creeping.
Very nice. Yeah, when I get off the
Tempted to
chair,
join,
I drop down.
Yeah, he just slinks.
Yep.
He just slinks on it. Tempted to join the call, but I'm half thinking you'd like more uncommon guests. We haven't actually had a single guest tonight, Xenovia. If you'd like to get involved with the discussion, do let me know. Just jump in that room and we'll go through the process of getting you added here. We haven't even been able to try it out, but I'm eager to see if this whole setup works. So if you want to come on and say a few things, or say something to Dragon,
You have a question
us know.
for the
No
Vector
problem with that.
Spaceman experience. Now's your time to shine.
Now's your time. Yes, we've hit a bit of a lull.
Ask Vector what he thinks about a particular movie that he probably hasn't seen.
Oh no, that's not true. No, I've seen so many films. It's
You
probably
have?
my favorite form of media has
Very
always
cool.
been film.
Fun.
I've seen all sorts of stuff, old stuff, new stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that slips through that I didn't see. Probably stuff like right around before I was born or something like that. Generally,
Okay.
I don't, yeah, but like, yeah, stuff from way before, or anything up through the, I don't know, the 90s through the 2000s through the 2010s through the 2020s now technically. Yeah, I try to stay abreast of film. It's definitely my go-to form of media.
Here's a question for you. You ever go to like a film festival?
I have never been to a film festival, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Even though that it would seem like something right up my alley. I generally don't go to a whole lot of events, unfortunately. I've never been to a live concert.
Oh.
I've never been to a film festival. I've never been to a Comic-Con type convention or what have you. No, big stuff like that. I just I've always been interested, but I just never really committed to it. Sort of same thing with when it came to doing online media like streaming and stuff like that. It's something I've always wanted to do, but it just took me a long time to finally commit to it.
Interesting. Well, maybe Golden Sea Xenovia has actually popped into the waiting room. Maybe she'll have a question for us. But yeah, maybe at some point I'd like to hear why did you not go to a certain theater or a play, but instead you decided to put yourself out on the internet. That seems like you skipped a step.
Like less of an exposing sort of thing, right? Yeah. Tell you what, I'm going to. All right, we're going to test out this process, Space Cadets. We are going to drag Xenovia in here.
Welcome, call-in user Xenovia, no other.
Not quite yet. Step 2 is to copy this, edit this.
Oh, there's more steps.
So usually, Usually we would be, still shooting the breeze as we've got some sort of conversation going on while I make these little changes behind the scenes, so that when we finally do reveal that we have a caller, I think technically Xenovia can still hear us at this point. Then how do we unmute?
What are you tinkering?
Xenovia here. Here we go. And we say, all right, caller, you're on the Vector Spaceman show. We are listening. And look at that. We pop up the little on the line. And it's ready to go.
Hello.
And we can hear Xenovia. There we go.
Hello, and hello to everyone watching the Vector Spaceman show. I think that's the way to say it.
Yeah.
Hello. I had a question now that you are on the topic, and thank you for having me in the line. I really wanted to test it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Thanks
you're on the air. You're live here with Dregn Durant and Vector Spaceman. We're taking calls on the space line tonight, Space Cadets. Caller, we're listening. What's your question?
Well, now that you are on the topic of movies, because they are also like sort of my favorite entertainment and anything, it is something I really appreciate in my free time and everything. And I just wanted to know, like, what's your favorite, for both of you, what's your favorite genre of movie to watch, and maybe your favorite actual movies? Maybe you have a list or something like that?
Favorite genre of film, Dragon, or favorite film altogether? What do you think?
Let's start with genre, just because that's an easier one.
Face.
That is I got a bunch of faces. No, I don't. But genre, gosh, there's always been an interesting balance for me, because I fall in the camp of there's too many genres to enjoy, because each movie can be so different, right?
This guy doesn't know he's stalling.
I am stalling. But I am definitely a fan of the action and the comedies. I'd probably lean in that camp.
Comedy used to be my favorite genre growing up. I thought, you're going to watch a movie, you want to laugh, you want to have a good time. I was a big fan of Jim Carrey films growing up.
Sure.
Oh.
Yep. You know, like The Mask, Ace Ventura. Then he did The Grinch. That was fine.
Yep.
You know, yeah, classic Jim Carrey films. I had gotten him mixed up with Drew Carey at one point.
Oh,
Not
very
as
different.
funny a guy. Not quite as expressive. No.
Sure.
Meg says my favorite movie as a kid for a while was Jason and the Argonauts. Interesting.
Yeah, an interesting choice.
Grew up loving horror films. I hated horror films growing up. I think I talked about before seeing what was it? The American version of The Ring when it came out. Being super young when that came out, and they hit you with that jump scare.
Yep.
The girl in the closet with the melty face, and I was gone. I was out. I was over it. I was done with this movie. Yep. I'm out ski.
Jumped out of his space boots.
Yeah, right out of my space boots. Scared me so much, I just stopped growing. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
His soul was cut short.
Flight of the Navigator, says Kieran, his favorite film.
Hmm.
I would have to look that up. I can't, off the top of my head, recall that one. Sound familiar to you, Dragon?
No, but I also am more likely to remember the poster image than I am the name itself, so who knows? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't.
The Thing is so good. I see Mac mentioning The Thing in the chat. I love that movie.
The Thing is great, yes. The original The Thing. Because I think there was a remake within the past decade or two. But the original one with Kurt Russell, that's the one we're talking about? That was a good one. That was a good one.
Definitely.
Oh wait, that wasn't a remake too, was it? Now I'm second guessing myself. The Thing.
The 2011 version is a prequel, I think.
I think it was. Yeah, that sounds about right. Because they were like in the Arctic, right? Or was
Yes,
that the original?
1982. That was the OG one. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah, that one was great. Now, Spaceman's favorite film. I wonder. I like really long, epic films.
Okay.
So stuff like Gandhi or
Okay.
Schindler's List.
Ooh, Schindler's List is a
or
good one.
dear.
Ben-Hur, or
Ben-Hur.
like the really long ones, the really huge casts. You know, that's I've always been really
Of epic proportions.
into epic proportions, epic cast, epic sets. You know, back in the day, especially the older ones where they didn't have CG to rely on. You had to get real creative with how you put a film together back in the day.
Or perhaps
That is true.
how to put together a VTuber show.
You think some of that bled through? You
I
it's,
think it
it's
did, man.
influenced my penchant for the exaggerated.
I think so. I think so. That's why one of your eyes is slanted a little more.
Meg says, "Oh boy, long movies. Honestly, like The Hateful Eight a lot. Hateful Eight's pretty good.
It is
I'd
pretty
consider
good.
Hateful Eight a long film. Yeah,
Oh, I haven't
Any-
seen that one.
any film where you get an intermission.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I'm big on those kinds of. Oh man, maybe Pulp Fiction actually shaped a little bit of how I think about storytelling in D&D games.
That's a good one. Who doesn't like a good Tarantino
Yeah.
film?
Yeah,
The
kinda-
Room, says Kieran. The Room was amazing. I think I prefer. What was that other one? Do you know which one I'm talking about? The Disaster Artist, which was the
Which one's this one?
The Disaster Artist was the biopic about the making of The Room, and it starred James Franco and his brother. What's his name? Franco. As Tommy Wiseau and the other fellow who's in the movie. But that was a really good retelling, and I think a lot more fun to watch than The Room itself. As much fun as that can be.
The Velocipastor.
The Velocipastor. Okay, so yeah, stuff like what's the other one? Sharknado, jokey films like that. Those could be fun to watch. It was my first Tarantino movie, says Meg, referencing Hateful Eight, and I did not know what would happen going in. I was in for a fun time. Favorite Tarantino film, Dragon? What do you think? Are you familiar with the director? Or
yeah.
you just know?
Yeah. Oh man. So Pulp Fiction, obviously classic. Around when it was big.
I think I've seen just about every one of his films now that I think about it. He's a pretty
Yeah, Kill Bill was cool.
Pretty decent director.
Yeah,
of
nice.
The last few decades. Yeah,
Definitely makes different movies, right? Unique, pretty unique in his own takes. Gosh, Hateful Eight was just something about the whole cowboy thing that they had going was so good. But no, I think Pulp Fiction. It has to be Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction's a classic. That one kind of put him on the map. He had Reservoir Dogs before that, but Pulp Fiction was kind of where he really took off. Plus, he had those big name actors like Bruce Willis, Bruce Willie, Sam L. What's his name? Night Fever. Talking about.
I'm terrible pop culture names. So
no, I'm talking about what's his name? Why is it not coming to me? Vincent Vega, who was played by the fella who was in a super big actor. Why can't I remember his name? I'm gonna look this up right now. How embarrassing, Spaceman.
Oh,
John Travolta. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you. Jeez Louise. I knew it had a T in it, but I was just thinking about Tarantino, and then it got me messed up. I couldn't think. John Travolta, happen. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, the storytelling in Pulp Fiction was just too good. Plus all the moments, and when it all comes together, I really like it when it all comes together. Yeah.
It all comes back to the beginning. Yep. You'll love to see it. What was I just thinking about? And it had to do with, we were just talking about Tarantino movies. Ooh, I lost it. All right, no.
We're talking about favorites. Did you voice?
I was talking about favorite films. No, I was trying to. I've always been super bad about nailing down like my favorite film. Anytime somebody asks me that, because I've seen so many.
Oh no, guys! Sounds like he's stalling.
I've probably seen.
Well, here's a good way of putting it. If you had to watch one of them every year, which one would you?
I remember what I was gonna say now. I used to really like watching, and I still do like watching, Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee joint. We were talking about iconic filmmakers who sort of have their own style. Spike Lee's always had a really iconic filmmaking style. You don't know Do the Right Thing? 1990 something film, I think, very early.
No, before my time.
No? Okay. That's always been a good one. He also did Malcolm X, now that I think about it. Another longer, epic sort of biopic. I really like those, not just epics, but also biopics. Like based on true event sort of films.
Yeah. Those are always very cool, because a part of you as you're watching it, even if they kind of twist it for cinema, it's like, man, that could have really happened, or that happened to some extent.
Yeah, that did happen. That's the allure of it. You want to see how these events play out.
There isn't there like two ways that they generally send that message when they it's like based on a true event or inspired by a true event or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think they all say something like that, because it's never going to be a one-to-one, real representation of reality.
But I want his arm to get eaten off by the bear. Come on. The production value is just unacceptable.
Just lacking.
Yep. Stuntman left the job with both arms attached, please.
I was trying to think of the film that maybe, if I was trying to narrow it down, what's the film that I've seen more than any other film already? And that would probably either come down to Schindler's List, great Liam Neeson film. Nice. Or maybe the Lord of the Rings films, just great fantasy films.
How could you not like Lord of the Rings? You're a VTuber.
How do you not like Lord of the Rings? And after those is probably some Star Wars film. I used to watch those all the time growing up. But I don't know if I'd call that my favorite. They're nice movies, but I don't know if they're like peak cinema or anything like that. I don't know if you can put them on the same level.
Yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier about, if you had to pick a movie that you would watch, that you would be willing to watch once every year. Actually,
like a desert island disc sort of thing.
Yeah, like I think Valley of the Wind Nausicaa is the English title.
Oh, Nausicaa, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nausicaa from pre-Ghibli Miyazaki, and then I think from the English side, the movie that I don't know why I love it so much, but it's so good, is The Illusionist.
The Illusionist with Skinny Man.
Yeah,
Batman.
what's his name?
What's his name? Christian Bale.
Was it?
Christian Bale,
yeah. He was that the Illusionist or was that the
He was in The Machinist.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
No, he was also in. Oh, I'm thinking of The Prestige. No, my
Prestige,
bad.
yeah. Prestige is the one that he was
Prestige.
in. Now the Illusionist had God, I don't know their names. But the Illusionist has one of those situations where it's like you learn all the twists at the end, and it's a little movie magic. But you can kind of go back through the movie and be like, oh, that did happen, right? One of those situations. So
The Illusionist.
It's an interesting one.
Old Eddie Norton. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like it. I compare it to The Prestige a lot in that it kind of has that vibe of it's both about kind of that magic illusionist theme, but The Prestige had some fantasy blended into it, whereas The Illusionist was a bit more
had a weird
cut and
David
dry.
Bowie showing up as a Nikola Tesla. Then
Yeah, exactly.
with his magic box. Yeah.
Yep, the magic box. Yeah, you find out at the end. That was also a very good movie too. But
what a twist!
there's a movie that it reminds me of that I never watched. Was it called The Showman? With
the greatest showman on earth.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
With Hugh Hefner. Not Hugh Hefner.
Hugh
Jackman.
Hefner. Oh man, your age is coming through. I haven't heard that name in so long, but
Right.
yeah. I feel like a lot of people said that was a great movie, and I never watched it. Missed out on it.
I thought it was a musical as well. I didn't catch it either.
Yeah, it was, and I heard that his performance was like super good. Actually, I heard everyone's on there was really good.
I think he came up through musicals as well before he got into film acting, so that doesn't surprise me.
He definitely did. He was talking about on an interview, I vaguely recall. Really?
Ellie, of course, the expert here. I like musicals, but I dislike Greatest Showman. There you go.
Yeah, what did you not
Favorite
like
musical
about it?
dragon. And also, what did you not like about it, Ellie? Was it just terrible? Was he just bad? Did the music stink? That can happen.
Did you just ask me what my favorite musical was too?
If you have one.
I
'Cause
did
now I'm
have
trying to think
one,
of mine.
and I'm trying to remember which one it was that I had gone to, but it's been so many years since I went, I've forgotten the name. But it was a comedy that was making fun of stage play. As a
Making
stage play.
Fun of stage play.
Yeah.
As a stage play.
What was it that I saw?
Meg says toss up between Little Shop of Horrors and Sweeney Todd for her. Really, really on that horror bend. Definitely.
Too bad there isn't like an easy way to find all stage plays sorted by
Too
popularity.
bad there
'Cause I think it
isn't
was
a way
up
to
there.
Google stuff.
I know. It's so difficult. Read my mind, please. Let me just think about it.
Ellie says the music was meh, except the song that was iconic. One good iconic song. Also, it had a romance between Zendaya and Zac Efron, who have a fair age difference. Do they? I suppose I'll always think of Zac Efron as being a young fella, but I suppose he's got to be pretty old by now, doesn't he?
Yeah, by now.
It's been a while.
Mr. High School Musical.
Also, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk here, so I've been pretty quiet.
I've noticed that. We've still got you on the screen, but we haven't heard a peep from Xenovia in a minute. No, please,
Yeah,
please, feel free to interject.
I didn't really
You're
know
on the
if-
line. The floor is yours, as it were.
Yeah, I didn't really know if I was supposed to like just make a question and then like listen until my time was up.
No, you're on the
seems like
Vector
it's
show.
fine.
You got to talk over him
Until
and me.
your time is up. No.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of pretty good recommendations on movies. Like here, I have a few of the ones you guys have noted, the ones I haven't watched. For example, Schindler's List has been on my movies I have to watch list for a while.
Oh, it's such a good film. Such a good film. I mean, a lot of people say that it's hard to watch. I've seen it so many times that I know what's coming. But it's definitely a biopic, as it were, based on real events and real individuals. So yeah, go into it expecting some rough stuff, I suppose, would be what I'd say.
Ellie, those seem like very appropriate choices, but I got a question for both of you. Is
Mamma Mia was great. I saw Mamma Mia live once.
Oh dear, that sounds fun.
Very fun, especially if you like ABBA music, because that's entirely what it is.
you guys like kung fu movies as well?
Do you like kung fu? I don't think I've seen a whole lot of kung fu movies. I've seen the one with Jackie Chan and what's his name, the one where it's like a Western kid.
Oh, the Shanghai Noon or whatever it was.
No. That's Owen Wilson, right?
Yeah.
No, not like the Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights. No, this was a.
Oh, the remake Karate Kid.
No, it wasn't Karate Kid.
About?
It was some film where it was Jackie Chan and maybe a few other famous Chinese actors, but then it was like a Western kid gets dropped like back in time through some shenanigans to old school China, and he's got to learn how to kung fu from Jackie Chan. And I swear I'm not making this up. I would have to figure this out.
I don't remember this one, but I mean he does have
Forbidden
a lot.
Kingdom, says Ellie. Okay, that could be it.
Oh,
Cool. Ellie knows all about the kung fu. Very cool.
I don't know if this counts as kung fu. It would count as kung fu. I was just thinking, I got mixed up with karate films for a sec, because the first one is about
martial art films,
China.
you know.
Yeah, I was thinking the Ip Man series.
Ip Man is very good.
I watched the Ip Man movies.
Yeah.
Ip Man gets progressively worse every film you watch, but for the first couple at least, it's still pretty good.
I heard that the first couple were good, and I heard the consensus was the latest one was good, but the in between were kind of meh.
Yeah, it kind of gets more and more repetitive. Like, here's how an Ip Man film goes. Like, after the first one, is that, you know, Ip Man, Donnie Yen, he's doing his kung fu, but then there's some issue in his life, and he's got to raise some money or deal with some foe or something, and then they bring out a big name Western actor, and he'll be all like, "Oh, is this what you call Chinese boxing?" And then he's got to fight Donnie Yen for some reason or another. Like the latest one, I think he fought Face Tattoo. What's his name? Heavyweight champion.
Don't remember, but yeah, that is about? No. But yes, they always come and say, "Oh, your kung fu is too weak." No, but not in that accent.
I can only remember the one where he fought Mike Tyson for some reason.
Mike Tyson is who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Oh.
Heavyweight champion of the world. How do we not know Mike Tyson's name? Thank you, Xenovia.
Oh, look in a mirror. But yeah, Ip Man's very good. Kung Fu Hustle, if you haven't seen it, would be my recommendation.
Kung Fu Hustle. That's not the one that is dubbed over entirely and like facially redubbed as well. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
No, you're thinking about Kung Pao.
Kung Pao. I'm thinking of Kung Pao. Yes.
Kung Pao is the ridiculous one. Yeah. The Jurassic
Kung Fu Hustle is the one where they like fight the whole thing, or a lot of it takes place in like a courtyard, or like
that's the one.
Like an apartment building or something.
Yeah,
right?
if you haven't seen it, it's good. It's more of a comedy than it is a kung fu movie, but the kung fu in it is actually solid.
Nice.
As
Kung
the
Fu Hustle's
landlady.
got the landlady. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
And Xenovia, I don't know if you've ever seen this one, but if you like blood, gore, chaos, and dark ninja shit, Ninja Assassin. I saw that in theaters. Ninja Assassin, and it wasn't what I expected. It's definitely, if like you consider like B horror, this is like a B kung fu movie, but
Is Ninja Assassin not super duper old?
I think it was in the 2000s.
Oh, maybe it was a remake. Because when I think of Ninja Assassin, I thought there was some old Japanese film.
I think it might be a remake.
Dubbed. Yeah. And check it out, you guys. We got Kohaku coming in with a little raid. Welcome to the show, you guys. Oh, apparently Xenovia's thing's covering up the alert, but that's fine. Welcome to the Vector Spaceman Show. We are talking tonight with Mr. Dregn Durant, our lovely co-host. And we got Xenovia on the line. We're taking calls on the space line all night tonight, you guys, making your wacky wishes come true. Asking questions, talking about this and that. Discussing films at the moment. Because, you know, we're artistic and refined spacemen over here.
Look at that. I did a thing. There's the Discord link if you want to join the call-in line. Get on the wait
look
list.
at Dregn fielding stuff here.
I got the power.
He's got the touch.
I recommend joining if you have anything fun to say or whatever. It's very fun to be on the line, honestly. And also, Dregn, for 1 second I don't know why I thought you were going to mention Ichi the Killer.
Ichi the Killer. That sounds so familiar. Let me see.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it is. I think it's an old
yeah.
Japanese gore movie it's been on my mind for a while.
Oh man, you know what? If I've seen this, it was so old, so long ago that I don't really remember it. But there's a chance I haven't seen this.
There's actually a lot of old Japanese films.
There's a crazy amount of old Japanese films.
Well, sure, but I would say that influenced a lot of Western direction, especially during the 60s, 70s.
Sure.
Films like, what's his name? Kurosawa, all his stuff. And especially some of the later ones that started to come out in color, talking about Ran and what was the other one? A lot of it ended up being like Japanese adaptations, script-wise, or I guess...
oh yeah, like Battle Royale made it over and eventually spun off into like Hunger Games and all that stuff.
Okay, that's much more recent than what I was thinking. But
yeah. No, you're thinking like a whole generation or two before that.
They used to like make cultural adaptations of like Shakespeare films and stuff like that into stuff like Ran and there was another one. Yeah,
that's true.
What's the one? Kagemusha and what have you.
Oh, Ju-on.
Is it my imagination? Or, oh God, wasn't there a Western film that came out that one of the director's inspirations was like the old samurai films that they would have in... I don't remember.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of films. I know that, Star Wars, for example, took tons of influence from Forbidden Fortress or Hidden Fortress or something like that. And so many, the term Jedi, of course, comes from Jedi films, Jidaigeki.
I had no idea.
Yeah, a lot of cross-cultural influence, as it were.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking before we got that little raid there about some of the maybe the worst martial arts or I guess Eastern influenced films that we might have seen, because I remember seeing, and I don't know if you've seen this one, 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves in theaters.
I did see that movie. It was kind of...
You did see that one?
Kind of silly, if I remember.
It was pretty silly, yes.
It got a sequel.
Did it?
No, it didn't. What? How do you even give that a sequel? It's based on like a story where everybody dies at the end. What are you even doing?
Well, I mean...
It's an upcoming movie.
Interesting.
We'll see what they do.
Xenovia knows all about all the
never mind.
Details.
It's out on Netflix.
Oh. It's out on Netflix. All right, movie night, you guys. We're going to see how they do 47 Ronin 2.
It's 48 Ronin now.
Oh, that'd be what they call it. Yep.
It's like when the Oceans movie, what is it, Oceans 8, then they did Oceans 9, and then...
Did they do Oceans 9 though? Because they did do Oceans 8.
Was it 11, 12, 13? And then
11,
they went
12, 13.
Okay, and then they went down to 8 during the all-female one, right?
Was an old film that was actually, it originally starred like a bunch of like Rat Pack members like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and what have you, because they used to do acting alongside with their singing and what have you. But the remake, of course, with what's his name, George Clooney and friends, Brad Pitt and all that. Those guys, they did 11 and then 2 sequels, 12 and 13. Then you're right, they did a sort of reboot of the series within the last few years called Oceans. Was it Oceans 8?
I think it was.
Because I think the plan was, we'll do Oceans 8 and then we'll get 2 sequels of our own. But I don't know if they ever got around to the sequels. I didn't keep up with that.
What do you guys think about these sequels, remakes?
I think there's a dearth of creativity in the realm of cinema these days, Dregn.
I feel that.
They ought
to take some pointers from us, from virtual streamers who are clearly the more creative types.
Absolutely. We need to show them.
Or else. No.
Well, I think the franchising has definitely gone a little bit too far in some places. Like, for example, I am very looking forward to the last movie of Indiana Jones 5, which is coming in like the next year, I think.
No way, really?
Yeah, there is going to be like
They gonna still have old Harrison Ford?
yeah, this is going to be the last time
I
Harrison
thought
Ford
they had
shows
some
up in
drama
anything.
after the
Well, I should
Crystal
hope so.
Skull.
You're really, stretching your bets on how long he's gonna last.
I mean,
Yeah,
have you seen
and-
Star Wars?
Yeah, but he's out. He's done.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hopefully. Hopefully he's out of Star Wars for the rest of his. For as much
Nobody's
as I
ever
think
really gone, you guys.
Oh,
Oh my god. Well, Star Wars is like the main perpetrator of expanding a franchise way
It's
too
a
much.
cash cow. Yep. Mhm.
Definitely.
Always has been.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if you're up to date with the shows. Like, most of them are pretty bad, but...
Pretty
Andor in
bad? Is that what you're
specific
saying?
I mean, like, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, for example, was, like, very, 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 very not good for me,
Mm.
honestly.
I watched that one. I did watch the Kenobi show. Do you keep up with Star Wars stuff, Dragon?
I kinda. I'm very surface
kinda.
when it comes to a lot of multimedia. Put it that way.
It's an American institution, Dragon.
It is, but what do you want me to do about it? There's only so many hours in the day.
True.
There's another.
Yeah, I know that there's an ongoing series right now based on the Cassian Andor character from the Rogue One film, but I haven't watched any of that on account of A, it's not out yet. I figure it's best to just watch it all in one go. And B, I've just had other stuff to do, and it doesn't seem like that pressing an issue. I think they're at the point now where they've made so much stuff that you don't feel the urge to keep up with it. Same sort of thing I feel about all those Marvel series and stuff like that. I haven't watched any of their TV shows in forever. I haven't seen a bunch of their films, whereas up to the point of where they like did the first Avengers movie, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. I
Yeah.
want to stay up to date. I want to know what's going on. Now I don't feel like that.
You know what I feel like is
That's a pretty
happening
common feeling though.
in a similar fashion to how people get decision paralysis due to the abundance of games that they have to choose from nowadays. I think with the shift away from physical theaters to watch film, and now that both film and episodic shows are consumed at homes, I think people are starting to get decision paralysis on what to watch, but maybe that's just me.
Just too much?
Too
No,
much?
I feel you.
Well, they're like
I've
churning
started-
them out, and plus every time Netflix releases a new series, don't they put out all the episodes at once?
Yes, they're very kind like that.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me, I got to go watch a whole new season of The Crown at some point. I love that show. I think they just released either today or tomorrow. They got a whole season 5. I got to find out what's up with
Oh
with
wow!
Big Liz and the whole royal family. I remember there was a comment, and we scrolled past it, unfortunately, but let's go back up to it. Somebody had asked how we feel about... Oh my goodness, I missed a couple of great comments here. Meg says, I remember my mom gave my dad and I tickets to Into the Woods, thinking it was a horror film. Turns out it was a musical. I was in a performance of Into the Woods. I remember that show. I used to do some stage acting back in the day.
Very cool.
But I'm looking for one specific comment here. Somebody was asking about... It was Meg again. Vector, have you seen the trailer for the new Avatar movie? Yes, I have, actually. I did see that. And I don't think I'm excited about Avatar movies. The first one was kind of a spectacle. I remember I saw it once with friends, once with my family, because it was like Christmas Eve, and we wanted to go see something. And, you know, it was nice to put on the 3D glasses and experience something different. It was kind of groundbreaking tech for its time. But, yeah, it's not like I'm enthused about the sequel, now that it's like, when did that even come out? It came out 2012, right? So it's over a decade later, we get a sequel, and then he wants to do a whole bunch of other ones as well. I don't know. But saying that, maybe I will go see it, because I've said before that the last film I ever saw in theaters before the Rona shut everything down was Rise of Skywalker, and I don't want that to be the last film that I ever saw in a theater. I gotta wash that taste out of my mouth, or out of my eyeballs, as it were.
That's why we got to work on the Vector Spaceman movie.
Motion picture, yes.
Oh my god, yes.
Don't think that's not in the works.
Coming to theater near you.
Feature-length Vector Spaceman show.
2023, you guys. Expect delays.
Oh man. Yeah. 20XX.
I don't know. I want to see what's going on with the Avatar sequel at this point. Like, they spent half the budget of the first movie. They spent like 50% of the budget only on the world building. They have to. They must think of doing something with all of that. So I'm interested.
Oh, there was so much
But
CG.
it's still the highest grossing film of all time.
Is it really?
Because it is. And you know why it is? It's an interesting story.
You sure?
All right. It's because they re-released the film after it got bumped down to second place.
Oh, they did a second theater
it
show.
for another theatrical run after it got bumped out of first place by, I think it was the one of the Avengers films, like one of the big last ones,
Yes,
that bumped it out of first place. So they did a
Another
limited
run.
time re-release that managed to snake back into first position.
Fascinating. That is a really interesting story because you don't really hear movies doing that, especially if it was like really popular.
Well, I think Rocky Horror Picture Show has the record for the film with the longest like recurring theatrical release, because they'll bring it back every year at theaters, usually independent theaters that like to put on a show. But yeah, that's sort of a big event that people look forward to seeing on the big screen every year. But yeah, most other films don't get like huge re-releases like that. Though I remember growing up, and you might recall this too, Dragon, when they re-released all the original Star Wars films, the original trilogy, in theaters. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was after they did all the episodes, right? Or before they did?
No. This was before Episode 1 came out.
Yeah, to get people re-familiarized leading into it, right? Yeah.
For it, yeah. They had all sorts of promotional tie-ins at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember those being in theaters, and I think I might have actually seen one in the. It might have actually been one of the first films I ever saw in the theater.
Oh,
I think it was Return of the Jedi. That might have been the first one I ever saw in a theater.
Gosh, part of me can't help but feel like they did that after the episodes played to continue, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Maybe. But no, I just remember it coming out beforehand.
Yeah.
Ellie asks, okay, how many people went to see Avatar expecting to see The Last Airbender? Well, would they have preferred to see The Last Airbender film? That's the question, because that's another notoriously not so great film.
Yeah. We don't talk about that one. I think when the new Avatar was announced, someone had mentioned it to me. Might even been one of you guys on the stream, in the stream circles, but
could have been.
I think I was like, wait, they're making another Airbender movie? And you're like, no, the blue people. And I was like, blue people? What? Yeah, I'll forever get the Avatar name mixed up because, man, I don't know what it is, but the film with the blue people.
The film, yep.
Like, we kind of, it's infamous in the regard of, the tech that was behind it, how much they promoted it. It was like a new type of cinematography. And
it was a big deal. You didn't have to wear the blue and red, like stupid cardboard, little filmy glasses on your face. You could wear the super cool new, like plasticky frames with like I don't know how it works. It like bends the light or whatever. But you needed like a special projector or something. Yeah.
But what's wild to me is, though I remember the movie itself being like super cool, like imagine like Halo done in the style of how Avatar was made. Like that would have been just perfect. But but the movie itself, I feel, was kind of shallow and boring.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot going on, unfortunately.
Yeah, kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
nothing unique about the story that makes me remember it.
Yeah, kind of a retreaded plot. A lot of, how you say, comparisons to films like Pocahontas, which of course gets compared to films like Dances with Wolves, which of course gets compared to, all sorts of old stories. Yeah,
God, I haven't seen Dances with Wolves.
The blue and red glasses, though. I remember Spy Kids 3D. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I think that was the last film I saw with the
Spy
red
Kids
and blue
3D.
glasses. And
Oh,
then we
man.
got the upgrade to the new and improved stuff that they use nowadays.
I remember the days where you take that off and you're just the coloration on your eyes naturally would be all like weird for a while.
No doubt, it would be.
I remember every 3D movie coming out, and to show they were 3D, they had to do these scenes where they threw things at the screen.
That was the worst. You don't have to do that. Yeah. I think Avatar was really good in that it sort of took the opposite approach. We're going to mess with the depth of the scene, but we're going to be projecting it into the screen like you're looking through a window. Not that you're having stuff coming at you, but that it's like something you could step into if you wanted to. I think that was their best decision in how to handle it.
Speaking of angled trickery, have you guys seen those bulletin, like those ad boards that they have on the side of buildings, like in New York, or in Japan? Yeah, the ones where it takes off a corner.
There's one in New York, and big cities, they have.
Yeah, and if you stand just like in the perfect spot in the corner, they use the angles to project a 3D image, like it's coming out of the monitor and crawling on the side of the building. That's some cool trickery right there.
All that, for perspective, make some cool effects.
Oh. All right, guys, sign up to our mailing list. We'll be sending out red blue glasses for the next Vector Spaceman special.
Did you ever see Dr. Tran?
Doctor who?
Dr. Tran. Dr. Tran was a Flash animation, which later spawned a series of spin-off animations. Kieran knows what I'm talking about. Dr. Tran was a short, it's between 5 and 10 minute Flash animation about this little Asian fella.
Yeah.
Clearly like a grade schooler or whatever. And the whole premise of the short is that he's getting hyped up by this narrator as some sort of like international man of mystery. And he's like, no, I'm just a kid. Like, leave me alone, sort of thing.
That's actually really funny.
But the sketch, the animation continues to progress through different, like more exaggerated ways of showing off this character, like collect the Dr. Tran 36 DVD box set and stuff like that. And there's one point in the animation where they hype up and coming soon, Dr. Tran 3D, and it flashes on screen. Please put on your 3D glasses now. And for like 2 seconds or like 5 seconds of footage, just switches to completely mundane, like the 3D effect, like would look proper if you had those glasses on. And I remember when they first premiered this this animation, which was done by a team called Lone Sausage Productions, if I'm not mistaken. Look at me recalling things, which later became incorporated into Mondo Media, which made series like the Happy Tree Friends, if you recall that, or by name perhaps. But they did a lot in web animation back in the day. But they, sorry?
No, I feel like I remember things from Mondo Media, but I have to check out what I remember.
Yes, they did the Happy Tree Friends. They did another series called Dick Figures, which was pretty popular for a while, and they did a bunch of other series too. But
years.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
but they took
style.
this Dr. Tran short to a bunch of film festivals and whatnot, and I remember they would hand out the little red and blue 3D glasses for everybody who was coming in to watch the films, just for like this 5 seconds of absolute nonsense animation of just a dude standing around.
Interesting. Okay.
I just thought it was funny.
That's a fun idea. Reminds me a little bit about that game, what is it, Bastion?
Bastion, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know what you mean in terms of the narration.
The narration, yeah, it's actually like kind of breaking the fourth wall, kind of, sort of, right?
Gonna look over at the chat for a second. Ryder, nice to see you. Wow, this looks like a professional podcast, doesn't it? We got our co-host Dragon here. We got Xenovia on the line, and we're taking calls on the space line tonight. Everybody can check that out. You just got to put the little command Discord into the chat here, and you too can be part of the show. I'm not joking. Vector really outdid himself. Like the layout, I like it too. Ryder, thank you so much.
Hell yeah.
And Ellie knows Happy Tree Friends. You know what I'm talking about.
Happy Tree Friends it was an interesting experience,
wasn't it? And Meg likes Avatar. Thanks for tuning in, Meg.
I remember accidentally stumbling upon Happy Tree Friends when I was a very small Xenovia. I think they showed it on MTV. I think I don't remember the channel they put it on, but
I think that's a good time to encounter it because it's gratuitous violence.
Yep. I'll never look at a spoon the same again.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh dear, I don't remember the chapter I've watched, but I remember it kind of vividly. It involves someone being split in half, and that's as far as I can go with my memory.
Oh, that could be a great many of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Which episode?
Which episodes? Went on for a long time.
It sure did. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, thank you for the hydrate, writer. You guys, make sure that you're staying liquidated here. I got a little drink by my side. Let's indulge for a second. 3, 2, 1, clink. There we go. Thank you, writer. Gotta stay well watered. Thank you, sir.
Those are some live reaction sound bites right there.
Some slurps, some girls. We'll do you another one. We'll a little gratuitous slurp right here. Here we go.
Oh god.
That's good stuff. Continuing the ASMR theme for tonight.
All right, continue to sit on the edge of your glass, everybody. Let's go.
Now that you mentioned everything from Mondo Media, I'm wondering what kind of web series do you guys like?
What kind of web series do we like? Okay,
like animated web series. This is all Vector's house right here.
It absolutely is. This is my old stomping ground. So because I did not have, access to a whole lot of video games or what have you growing up, everything that I was into was all web-based. So browser-based games. That's why I was so big into Flash. And of course, tons of animation gets done in Flash. So looking back on it, let's see here. If I could highlight some really good ones. When I think about the best, well, of course I got to start with Homestar Runner. So if anybody doesn't know about Homestar Runner was the gold standard for independent Flash animated series. Had their own website, had their own merch, gets quoted today relentlessly by people in the know. You got to look under a few rocks to find people who know about it, it seems, nowadays, unfortunately. But everybody I knew growing up knew about Homestar Runner. Kieran knows about Homestar Runner, absolutely. Pomato knows about Homestar Runner. Meg and Don, they know about Homestar Runner.
I think it was more popular in Canada.
I don't know if it would have been more popular in Canada. It might seem like that because Palm and I really get a kick out of it. But no, it was an American production put together by the brothers Chaps, Mike and Matt Chapman, I believe, if I'm going off the top of my head. They were animators and game developers. Teen Girl Squad, absolutely. Yeah, it spun off so many side projects. And I think what most people would recognize from the Homestar Runner brand would be Strong Bad. Strong Bad emails. Strong Bad was a character who got his own video games. He appeared in a Valve developed game, or was it? No, it was a Telltale developed game called Poker Night at the Inventory, which featured a bunch of other characters like Sam and Max from the old point-and-click adventure games, Tycho Brahe from the Penny Arcade series, the Heavy from TF2. It was a neat little game. Which
I think that was the game that
playing. So perhaps I should try that sometime. Now that I think about it,
I think that's the game that maybe a lot of people discovered. A lot of different characters and whatnot in that sphere of influence. Yeah, because I think that was the one that put the Draco Boy on my radar.
Okay.
Yeah, Snake Man with the wing and the strong arm, right?
Oh, Trogdor. You're talking about Trogdor.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, so
he
Trogdor
game, right?
spawned out of the Strong Bad emails, which were a part of the HomestarRunner.com experience. Yes. We need a Trogdor the Burninator game. Well, you got it. You kind of got it, Kieran. There's the Trogdor game that you can play on the Homestar Runner website. And of course, there's the Trogdor board game that you can buy. Remember, this is not just limited to an online experience. This is a real franchise with real merch that you can pick up. It's a real thing. And surprisingly, what I find is that people these days, they just don't know their history, their web history. Homestar Runner is a big part of that. Now,
there's so much history. There's so much history.
Oh, so much history. So much history. Outside of Homestar, I'll bet you'd probably remember, Dragon, you'd probably remember these animations like Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. That was a... Ooh, who did the animation for that? It was a Lemon Demon track, and also did stuff like he also did the ebombsworld.com takedown animation, did a bunch of stuff. I'm blanking on who the animator was, but people know Ultimate Showdown, that's for sure. The Madness Combat series, are you familiar with that one at all?
Madness is probably the one I know the most of. That and whoever did the turtle animations.
Yeah, know that one. Okay. Xenovia, you remember Madness at all?
I think so. I think
Little round
I've heard of
boys
it
with the
before. I haven't-
guns.
Yeah, the Madness Combat series was mostly animations, but also had a not so great game.
That's from Newgrounds, right?
It was hosted on Newgrounds, Flash Player, yeah, all over the place. Yeah, you would see it on Newgrounds.
Yeah, it started to.
Yeah, little gray fellas with cross-shaped heads, with gratuitous violence, a sort of loose narrative that got slapped together in some of the later animations. But yeah, it was all about, I guess, testing the animator's ability to put together these fight scenes. That's what it was really about.
Neat. The more you know.
On the topic of Newgrounds, of course, we got stuff like the Tank Man series. Do you remember that one at all?
Know of it, didn't really watch it. I actually, I think, you know what it is I never went into like web animations. I dabbled and saw a few in the early days, but I think most of my attention went towards gaming and anime, which is why it's still there deep down in the heart.
I get that. Well, on the topic of Newgrounds then, of course, classic games came out of that space, like the I think the most successful one, which spawned a bunch of similar titles, would have been the Alien Hominid series, which actually got console releases later on down the line, but that got its start on Newgrounds by the site's owner, I believe, was a Flash developer.
I remember Alien Hominid. I remember the game, the PS2 game, I think.
Yeah, it got released for PS2 and for the Xbox. Yeah, it was around that generation, PS2, Xbox 360 maybe even. Hello, Leo. How about Albino Black Sheep? Yeah, so all these hosting services, Albino Black Sheep, Newgrounds, Flash Player, Miniclip, eBombs World to an extent, even though they didn't really produce their own stuff all that much. But then there were the independents. And I want to hype up the independent animators who made independent, like, self-contained narrative content. Animators like legendary Lilypad, the Super Flash Bros, who did series like the Another Day series, the Decline of Video Game series. Ooh, what was the name of that Korean duo, I think it was? Or was it just one guy who made the animated? They were set to music all the time. It was about this rabbit and cat who were always getting into hijinks. It was about the cat had a crush on the rabbit or something like that, or vice versa. No, it was vice versa. Now that I'm thinking, it's come back to me. The series was called There She Is, and it was always set to Korean like K-pop music, and but
Early
like really
days.
good hand-drawn animation. The good old days of watching Flash animations. Yes, Leo, somebody asked me, I think it was Dregn, about old Flash stuff, and now I've just gone on a tangent, reminiscing on this and that.
He knows his roots.
I know my stuff. Yep, I know them by name. People will often be like, "Oh yeah, you remember like
that thing from that time in that one show on that one site."
Decline of Video Games. I was like, "Oh yeah, Decline of Video Games," a 3-part series made by shoot, now I'm blanking on their names. It was Adam and Dim Vian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom and Adam Vian. That was it. Excuse me, correcting myself there. Don't want to get my history mixed up.
Man, it's always impressive when someone's able to remember the names of people who do things, because I have terrible time remembering. I actually have to take significant effort to actually commit them to memory.
This was all during the time when I was first learning how to use Flash, and I thought, man, I want to be like these guys. These are the guys who I want as my contemporaries.
Okay.
Actually, the fellas that I was just talking about, the Super Flash Bros is what they used to style themselves as, and they made the Decline of Video Game series. They made the they did a bunch of work on collab stuff as well, but they also made the Another Day series. They made some games too, but they made a game that came out within the past few years for the Nintendo Switch called Snipper Clips.
Oh, I know
which
that
is,
one.
You know that game? Yeah, that was them. It's nice to see people who, got started in obscure spaces. They make like big commercial titles. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually a very fun game, especially for any couples or very close friends. It's a good duo game where you solve puzzles and you
collab game even if we own Switches.
Yeah. Well, it's not even Switch, isn't it? On multiple platforms, or am I misremembering? I played it on the Switch though. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I only ever played it on the Switch at a friend's place.
Man.
What game are you talking about? I spaced out for a second.
Talking about Snipper Clips.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, making shapes out of little paper characters. Yeah.
You're taking a bite out of your friends.
Yeah, take a bite.
Nip, nip.
It looks fun. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I recall, it was a well put together game. Good on them. Good on you guys. The brothers Ian.
Super good collaborative game too.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but when I was like looking for kind of animation on the internet and stuff like that, I was really into watching flip note type animations. Like,
Flip note. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's these people who used to make like this very flashy animations where they have like stick figures just fighting each other and just, like going all exaggerated powers and stuff. It was very fun.
Stick figure animation used to be super popular because of course it's fairly simple to pull off. I actually got into a discussion on air with Neff a couple of weeks back, she was trying to remember a bunch of old like stick figure versus animator or stick figure fight animations, and I was hitting her with the nostalgia, giving her all the deets. We were talking about one of the games. It was like a Matrix-inspired two-person fighting game with stick figures, and you could activate like bullet time and all sorts of rad stuff. And it like blew her mind that I could recall all this stuff off the top of my head. So like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember all that.
Yeah, those got really popular. I mean, hell, actually, they still release games on mobile, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
Yeah.
Easy to do. Well, I say easy to do. Easier to do, perhaps, than other more complex stuff. Leo says, stick figure fights were always fun. I dabbled in Flash to make those back then, too. Yeah, I mean, it's a great place to start. Why not? Fun. And easier now more than ever, because funny thing about Flash is didn't always have bone tools for making characters. So there was a time where we used to have to animate the rotation of body parts like forearms and upper arms and hands and stuff like that as groups, then tweak it after tweening to get it to line up properly, and it wasn't great. And it's a lot better nowadays. It's a lot better nowadays that they know that people are actually using it for animation.
Just go look at the stop motion that they had to do for like claymation.
Okay, similar stuff.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot. See, because it's like frame by frame, you got to get the motion. Sometimes that motion is exaggerated just because you got to get the message across when it's in motion, right? So
I'm a big fan of stop motion stuff. I got big respect for stop motion animators.
Yeah, it's kind of a dying, if not a borderline flatlined industry, I feel. But
you get absolute mad lads like Guillermo del Toro, who's making his new Pinocchio film coming out soon. Ellie says, through limitations, create innovation. Yes, indeed.
I am very excited for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio movie.
I think the last film I saw of his was, maybe it was Hellboy, now that I think about it. But, because I think he was working on those. Actually, what's interesting is Guillermo was supposed to work on the Hobbit films initially. Would have had a very different look to them. But ultimately, what's his name? Peter Jackson took over, like he did with the initial Lord of the Rings films. But I've always wondered what the Hobbit would have been like under Guillermo del Toro's vision. I imagine that it would have been a lot more fantastical, maybe more so like the initial like fantasy book.
Maybe they would be good movies.
I think it would be a lot better movies than what we got. I think
maybe there would have been trolls.
Kind of more like the old animated adaptations.
Maybe not 3 movies long too. You know exactly why it was 3 movies length long.
Yeah, so we can get that big check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember seeing the first of those films. Do you remember? Did anybody else notice, like, when they clearly switched to GoPro footage during that barrel ride scene?
Did they? They might have.
Oh, yes,
When
they
it was
did.
in
Yes,
the
they did.
water and they were spinning
They
around.
didn't, yeah, they didn't get past me. I noticed.
That's funny.
Hobbit did not have that much content.
It is a
mean-
pretty short book, if you in the grand scheme of it all.
In the scheme.
In the scheme.
I mean, the entire third movie is basically made up, right?
It's expanded upon, I suppose.
No.
Yeah, they hit a lot of the same points, but I think a lot of the characters.
There was some
not a
dwarven
lot of
development.
characters, perhaps, but some dwarven development.
Yeah.
Yeah, some new characters added to the mix. Some old characters brought back that weren't there in the first book initially. Just gotta sell those tickets.
Yeah,
Gotta
actually,
sell
was
those
it
tickets.
like Legolas showed up, right? And he's like, "Dude,
Yeah,
you
for
weren't
no
even
good
you
reason.
weren't even in the book. Technically, I guess you could have been alive, but still,
Yeah, true. Yeah.
would he have been there
You,
then?"
you weren't written yet. What are you doing
Yeah.
here? Oh, Meg says, I actually took a class in college called Tolkien's World, where we read and talked about Lord of the Rings. Best class I ever took.
Nice.
That sounds fun.
Sounds very fun
But
and also
Meg-
very useful too.
But what? No, not useful until she tells us what she learned.
I had a colleague who took a Tolkien studies course or something similar, and wrote like a big final paper about the experience of playing the Lord of the Rings online MMORPG and how it related to Tolkien's world and vision and how it could be used to immerse oneself in that world and stuff like that. And I don't know if there was any real academic merit to it, but it sounds like they had a good time.
Nice. Lots of contrasting, like a big one's darkness and light. Cool.
Tolkien loves darkness and light.
Fun topic. I watched somebody's take on the Matrix. It was an old video. Pretty sure I saw it before, but going into all the meaning behind the Matrix and the warnings and the impact the Matrix had on just culture in general.
We know Kung Fu.
They do know Kung Fu, but also just like the future we live or the present we live, whatever it is. Man versus machine. Light versus dark.
Yeah.
Man, the Matrix definitely goes in a lot of wild directions if you read into it.
I actually haven't watched The Matrix in a few years, but hopefully you'll allow me to mention this, but there's been this popularized theory that it is a trans allegory, so as a trans woman I am very interested in rewatching it with that in my mind.
That is what the directors
they came out and said
have
that.
said
Yeah.
recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if
can
that's
see where it
something
comes from,
that I would have read initially going into it.
Yeah.
But or if it's something that they've sort of post hoc applied to it, I'm not sure. It's hard to say.
It's kind
But,
of
it could be. Yeah.
kind of like who was the author for the Harry Potter stuff? She did that recently. Where she came out, it's like, oh yeah, I always intended for this character to be that way.
Oh, you're talking about, this was years ago, the character of Dumbledore, where
Probably.
she just sort of offhandedly said that, yeah, he's gay, that sort of thing,
Yeah,
without any sort of real.
came out of
Well,
left
it
field.
wasn't,
as
it
far as
wasn't
I'm
something
concerned.
discussed in the novels. It was something sort of just brought up in conversation in an interview after the fact, in
Mhm.
the same way that this trans allegory was.
It's always funny to me because I always wonder, like when like book studies happen, right? And they look at a book and they try to dissect the book, but the author is long dead and never really voiced any of the ideas. And before the internet started to be able to go out and change and just hit the edit button, I remember people who would take these classes talking about, well, the meaning behind this book and the message of it all, and it's like, but that's not anywhere in the book. Yeah, but I learned about it.
Oh,
And then
a lot of room for interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ellie says the directors of the Matrix films are themselves trans, so I think it makes sense. Yeah. I can't.
but they
I can't read their minds, so it's hard to say. Yeah, if
didn't that
how
change
long
come
they had that
after the
sort of thing in
Matrix
the
though,
works.
or am I misremembering timelines here?
well, publicly, yeah, they didn't state that they didn't come out as trans until years after the original 3 films. But who's to say, you know, what they might have been dealing with, how they might have been feeling at the time of developing those films. Yeah, it's,
well,
you don't want to.
The Matrix it pulls inspiration from at least a lot of different historical resources, from religious to theories and philosophies and all sorts of stuff. So,
well, there's certainly a lot of historic names applied to different characters and how you say, set pieces.
Sure.
Within the film, the Nebuchadnezzar, the ship itself,
how
Zion,
that
the city itself.
Yeah. So how that translates to, you know, present events or future events is really up for grabs, I feel. So, yeah.
Overall, good film series.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to conclude that. Also, Dragon, now that you were mentioning symbolism and stuff like that, like reading, even if the author doesn't mention it, it reminds me of what happened with Evangelion.
Oh.
With,
That's a good series.
Yeah.
Yeah, with people mentioning like the religious symbolism that Hideaki Anno was putting into his work and everything that it could mean. And then he came out like years later and said like, I just put it in here because it looks cool and I wanted to make an Ultraman reference.
That tends to be the Japanese experience for the most part. With,
that's my experience, at least.
Western mythology, yeah.
which is why it cracks me up when, you know, people get overly interpretive. As interesting as I find it, it's like, man, unless the author comes out and says like, it could have just been because they thought it was cool. But at the same time, I feel like if a director comes out, it's like, oh yeah, the underlying message to this movie was X, Y, and Z, then it's kind of like revealing how a magic trick is done. I feel like the film actually loses something of value. But yeah, that's my take.
That is very true.
Ava is legit fake deep. I think there's something to be said that a lot of Ava, especially in the original series, the late original series, and into the part of the rebuilds, has a lot to do with the director's issues with depression and what have you. I think that I don't think it takes a whole lot of stretch to see that interpretation there.
Yeah, but, I could see that.
And I especially like the idea that the series and the rebuilds, or the series and the initial films and then the rebuilds, aren't quite like a retelling, but it's more like a recursion of the initial series. You actually see a lot of cool sort of nods to the idea that might be the fact in the rebuild films.
God, what was that series? There was another series I think that came after that did this kind of alternate time looping. Was it Muv-Luv? Is that the name of it?
Oh, I don't know that one.
There's a handful of like animated series, but they're all like parallel universes or like overlapping in some form, if I remember. That was a kind of interesting concept from what I remember.
Well, it's a good way to keep selling a series, that's for sure.
Yeah. But it's the same. No, but it's different.
It's different this time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to check out Muv-Luv eventually. It is something I've been recommended for a while.
I feel like Nova Swarm would be super appropriate for an anime against spacefaring fungus.
Right, yeah. They're all set up and ready to go.
Exactly.
Make sure you give the Nova Swarm your Twitch Primes, everybody, so they can afford to produce their mecha anime series. Let's go ahead and give a little shout out to the Nova Swarm, actually. We've had a few members show up in the chat tonight. Don't forget to follow the Nova Swarm, you guys. A trio of fantastic virtual streamers and friends of the show. Yeah. Go show them some love.
Yeah, what other shows were memorable? That's a long laundry list.
Other shows were memorable. Oh man, I started going off. So right after I made that announcement that the Vector Spaceman was in fact born in that frigid wasteland that is Canada, I started going off about Canadian. Oh, Dragon, where did he go?
I was about to blast off. Whoa!
Oh dear.
I started going off about a bunch of Canadian-produced animated series that I've always wanted to talk about, but figured that if I started doing it too much, it might be a giveaway about where we grew up. We often don't think about it, but Canada has produced a number of very skilled animation studios and producers and animators as well. And yeah, we got to recognize some of these great shows. Dragon, I want to know if you've ever heard of any of these titles, first of all, okay?
Oh boy, I'm so bad at titles. Let's go.
Okay, have you ever heard of Cyber 6?
Cyber 6.
Cyber 6. It's very popular amongst Canadians and Argentinians.
Cyber 6. This is not the animated...
It is an animated show, yes. It does not sound like it's ringing any bells.
I recognize the dude with... I have seen bits and pieces of this. Yeah. I've seen these characters before, but I don't remember any of it.
Okay. It was a co-produced production between a Canadian studio, Japanese animators, and it was based on an Argentinian comic series by the same name.
The guy with the wild hair, does he show up in a God, if it's a Japanese animator, it could be any of them. Damn.
Yeah, it could be any of them. But no, it was a very popular series here in Canada. It used to get shown on our one of our national cartoon networks.
Yeah, what is it?
All the time, late at night. Really well put together. Only got one season, unfortunately. Here's another one. Undergrads. Do you know Undergrads?
Undergrads. This one...
Definitely heard of that one.
A common name.
Knows Undergrads.
I don't think this name sounds familiar. Nope.
Undergrads was a show produced, once again, in production with Canadian studios for MTV, and got aired much more frequently and in order, which I feel is often an important way to show a show on television here in Canada. Again, on one of our very few cartoon networks. And I think that's probably why Canadians tend to recognize the content that comes out of here more often, is that there were very few stations where you could watch this when we were growing up. And also we actually have a bit of legislation in Canada which requires broadcasters to show or air a certain amount of Canadian content, whether it be on the radio or on television.
I heard about that. Actually, that's been in the news recently because they're talking about extending that to streamers as well.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Yes. Not quite the same, I suppose, but similar. Yes. I forgot about that law, says Ellie. Yeah, so that's why we get so many. That's why we get so many Canadian artists playing on Canadian radio, and why we get so many, Canadian shows playing on Canadian stations, because they're legally required by law to show off a certain amount of that in order to get either government funding so they can continue to run their stations, or allow advertisers, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I think that's part of why Canadians have seen a lot of the same shows, and why Americans, well, you've got so much more variety and stuff to watch. So all the Canadian stuff never makes it over, or if it does, in very limited quantity, I suppose.
Well, also,
it's been that since forever, says Doc Freenote. Yeah.
Also, where I'm from, we can actually go outside during the winter and actually enjoy our time. So...
Man, that's got to be a bonus.
Yeah, we weren't stuck inside watching web shorts.
watching Beast Wars and Reboot and all that.
Oh man, I'm so surprised that somebody else has remembered Beast Wars. I had nearly forgotten about it.
Well, of course we remember Beast Wars because it was produced by a Vancouver production studio. So again, everybody got to see it because, oh, well, that's CanCon. Let's put it on the air. It's easy. Yep.
What's crazy to me is probably there's a handful of, like, I bet you there's a minority of people out there who their first Transformers experience was Beast Wars.
Mine definitely was, yeah, because they were the coolest. I didn't want to mess around.
And then you found out that they were vehicles, and you're like, what the hell is this crap?
Freenote is on it here. Yeah, Mainframe Entertainment. They did do Reboot. That's where the initial name came from. And you can tell it's the exact same studio because it's the exact same rendering style. It's that real early 3D very minimalist stuff. Like this was before Toy Story really sort of nailed how to do high quality 3D animation, like film quality stuff. But yeah, this was it was important for Canadians that you watch Reboot and Beast Wars, all before Blender or 3ds Max and all. It might have actually, well, it might have been, you know what, I can't recall. It would probably either be a Pixar workstation that they were using, or Autodesk might have had something that they could have used back in the day. Did you ever end up watching the 2018 Reboot revival? I did not. And I had friends who are bigger Reboot fans than I did. They saw that, and from what I heard, it wasn't the greatest. From what I heard, there was some sort of like live action element to it. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that sounds a little nutty. That doesn't sound like the Reboot that I recall.
I don't know if you guys watch any current
Reboot, yes.
More current series animation. They've actually gone into, I mean, we've kind of seen it in Japanese animation for a while. I think Western animation has a pretty distinct style to it, but a lot of them use, right, like assisted animation, as I think you called it, or
I use the term assisted animation when I'm talking about using live 2D for
yeah,
different shots.
But a lot of studios out there would use like either 3D modeling to do like 3D action scenes, so they don't have to do all the extra artwork for it, right? So they'll actually start, or they'll do the backgrounds, but the characters will be done through software. And
I think that's still legitimate
animation. Oh no,
I
100%.
Say that's cutting too many corners or nothing. No.
But I gotta say that they've definitely gotten better because there was a period of time years ago where it's just like, this looks really awkward. That
there was a short time period,
yeah,
and perhaps not as short as it should have been, where you would see faceless background characters in that not quite like it was kind of a cell shaded style, but you could tell that they were actually 3D compared to the 2D animated characters, and it was always jarring. You know what I mean, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The like motion always felt a little stiff sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're those are the learning curves, the learning pangs, as it were. Yeah, nowadays the kind of effects that you see coming out of animated shows is off the chain, off the wall.
Yeah,
I think they're doing a great job. I think they're using stuff like the kind of like shader effects and stuff you can pull off in
how big of an evolution was it when everyone started moving over to pen tablets instead of drawing on paper? Right, that alone I bet was massive, just editing or reshading.
Yes and no. Yeah, I think we definitely lost something along the way there, but at the same time it definitely makes for a whole new workflow. I definitely do like the look of old painted cells that went into the old 80s, 90s animation and earlier and what have you. It's hard not to love that distinct style. And to the point that people are often using software to try and replicate that sort of look. So who knows, it might be a resurgence in a renaissance, if you will, in that sort of iconic anime style in the future. I'm sure somebody will put together something like that, a love letter, as it were.
It looks old, but it's HD.
My brain vomited there for a second because thinking of really good looking old animated series. Did you ever watch Trigun?
Trigun, yes, dude. That's OG in my heart.
Right? Yeah. Who doesn't love Trigun? But have you seen the trailers for new Trigun?
When is new Trigun?
Trigun's coming back, and it doesn't look like the old Trigun, that's for sure.
Interesting.
It's very different. It's almost a different show.
Goes back to, if it looks like a different show, if it feels like a different show, if it tastes like a different show, don't use the same goddamn name.
Well, it's got the same characters in the sense that they're named the same thing. They might not necessarily look 100% the same, and they might not necessarily be drawn. They might be 3D models now, which is always a gamble. I never think that's a great decision to make. Ellie says, I don't know how to feel about the new one yet. Yeah. It's a very different Vash the Stampede, that's for sure.
I'm gonna have to go look for that, because no, I have not seen it. But I think this is also changing of the times, right? Because the old Trigun had a
Plus, I
wide.
don't think Millie's in it. I didn't see her in the trailer at all. What's that about?
No, she
I
was-
didn't see. I can't remember if I even saw Wolfwood in there. I'll have to rewatch it.
I saw
Dang.
some people on Twitter complaining about that, yeah.
As they should. Everybody should go complain.
Yeah!
Was Trigun aired around the same time that Cowboy Bebop was?
Loosely, I suppose.
I think it was loosely around the same time frame, but interesting. Yeah, I'll have to go look at that. I don't know how I feel about these
That's
remakes.
right. They did change his hair. They changed it from that spiky, like Guile, to a
Dang.
blonde K-pop generic hair. Yeah, it's a little shorter. It's not quite as wild. Plus, Vash just himself doesn't look like as odd. He doesn't look like as spindly or
They
what have you. He looks just like
misunderstood
a
his
dude in a
style.
coat.
Damn. Yeah,
They
because like,
messed with his style. That's right.
when he's in goofy mode, he has that like blown up hair look. But when he gets into like serious mode, his hair like suddenly evolves into like this slick, cool slick back, right? I don't know. That's what I remember at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Remakes. I feel like
Remakes.
Actually,
You were talking earlier about when we were back on the topic of favorite films. You had started to bring up some Miyazaki stuff, and that had completely missed my mind when we were talking about stuff. I didn't even consider animated films at the time. Do you ever see Porco Rosso?
That was
Porco Rosso. That's one of my favorite Ghibli movies.
Porco Rosso. That's not just one of my favorite Ghibli films. That's
No.
probably one of my favorite films altogether. Oh yeah. So this came out right before, well, chronologically, I suppose, in terms of Miyazaki films. This came out before, I think it was right before they released Mononoke Hime. And it was about a pig man, and he flew a plane, and he was Porco Rosso. And it's a great film, great animation, great little story, great sort of send up to Miyazaki's love of planes and what have you. And it's kind of like, I always call it like the Casablanca of Ghibli films.
interesting. Yeah, I don't think I ever watched it because I saw the pig pilot and I was like, weird.
No, that's, you got filtered out, my man.
All right,
No,
all right.
you gotta watch it. I remember we used to watch films, and this is something that I think I would love to do here on the channel as well with all of our lovely space cadets. But we used to watch films over in Monayu's Discord server almost every week, and we were going through a phase where we were watching through all of the Miyazaki films.
Oh, fun.
Because she hadn't seen a bunch of them, and Porco Rosso was on that list, and that everybody loved that film. It was so good, and yeah, it's one that so many people sleep on, unfortunately, because it's such a great movie.
It's pre-Ghibli too, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not true. It is a Ghibli film. It was originally produced as a in-flight movie for some airline,
What was it?
Japan Air or something like that, and eventually got expanded more and more to be a feature film. And the project took on a new direction, and yeah, it was super duper cool.
So if this was during Ghibli, then was this the
Well,
first?
Ghibli is
or-
everything that's like post Nausicaa, really, right? So like,
was that where the line was? I don't remember where the line was.
yeah, like Totoro and onward, I think.
No, actually, Castle in the Sky and Grave of the
You're right.
Fireflies
Castle in the
came
Sky was before Totoro, I think.
And Porco
I
Rosso
think.
was actually 2 after Kiki's, and
Oh, you looking up a list?
yep, I sure did. It's actually a few films before Mononoke. So yeah, it's actually always surprising every time I look at this list. It's like, oh shit, I still haven't seen this one.
Porco Rosso. Where are you?
I'm going to assume Nausicaa is your favorite. You mentioned it before.
That's what Dragon was saying.
I
Yeah.
sure do love that film.
And it's a good one. 84, I think that was the earliest. Yeah, and that's what gets called pre-Ghibli because it was under a different studio. And I actually also, while I'm looking at this list, Castle of Cagliostro, the Lupin film, also a classic.
Oh, I have to get into Lupin. I've only
Lupin's
watched
great.
the.
Oh, it's so long. That's the other problem going back to like some of these old series to catch up. Like some of these old series have like 300 episodes.
Well, not just the the manga or the anime, but the Lupin films.
Yeah,
the new Lupin film that came out within the last couple of years, it was like the best adaptation of anime style to 3D that I have ever seen, that
Really?
perhaps has ever been done. The first, yes, Lupin the Third, the first was so good. It's everything that the Tintin movie wished it could be
Oh,
in terms
okay.
of adapting a comic style to 3D. It was so good.
Very cool.
Agreed,
Very
agreed.
cool.
It is
Mhm.
a very
Free Note knows what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I like how you managed to slide in a random rows of the Tintin movie. I haven't heard of that movie in ages.
And not like I'm trying to roast the Tintin movie, but Tintin tried to adapt that hairstyle to 3D, and it came off looking a little too realistic, I think. Whereas the Lupin film, Lupin the First, Lupin the Third, the first, really found that sweet spot between 3D and Japanese animation.
Yeah, I see
That's
it.
right.
They did it so good.
Yeah, I think it has to be like my favorite 3D movie, along with like maybe Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know, probably.
That's a good one too. Very distinct style. Which also is
Yeah.
getting a sequel sometimes in the near future, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Across the Spider-Verse.
So many.
Across the Spider-Verse. There you go.
Yeah, recent years I've completely shut my doors to films. I'm too.
Film is the way to go, Dragon.
I
It's such
know.
a valuable medium. And you'll learn so
China.
much, especially if you're
sure
trying to
is.
make little specials of your own, like I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah,
what's
good with
interesting
that.
is I think my interests have actually shifted to learning about people. I think that's the issue.
People,
I
beans
know.
suck. Movies is where it's at. Yeah, character.
Yeah,
That's what it's
forget
all about.
people. Yeah.
Most movies are about people anyway.
Well,
Movies do tend to be about people. This is true.
true. I mean more in the form of documentaries and overview, or not over interviews and things like that. It's-
Mm,
Yeah, I haven't really watched like, gosh, what is the last like for fun? I think I watched like Spy Family, and then I have on my watch list the oh my god, my brain, the Cyberpunk film.
oh,
Yeah.
the animated series?
Yeah, I heard that was a lot of good, so I do want to see that. I still haven't watched Arcane. That's on my list, and then I also want to watch the new Arc Knights anime because, man, I spent years fanboying on Arc Knights and
Arc
the
Knights
art
has
style.
an anime?
Yeah, they just came out with I think episode 1 like a couple weeks ago or something. So
Everybody's saying nice things about Edge Runners here. Yeah, it was a good
It is
series.
big.
It's more like an
Very good.
anthology in the sense that big gaps in time between episodes, but it's a very good series. All
But yeah.
self-contained in one season. Very good stuff.
Did you watch Arcane, Vector, by the way?
I did not watch Arcane. That's another one that I didn't watch because, and I know people talk good stuff about it and that you don't need to know anything about the League of Legends games in order to enjoy it, but I never played League of Legends. I think I played through the tutorial or halfway through the tutorial. I just wasn't digging it. I think I would play League of Legends if I could move with the WASD, but because of all the clicking, I never played games growing up like the Warcraft mods that inspired the MOBA type games. So it just never resonated with me. I never played the Diablo games. But no, it's one that I have been meaning to watch for the
Yeah,
longest time because people do say nice things about it.
Yeah, and if anything, for anyone who's like interested in Arcane, there is absolutely no prior knowledge of League of Legends that you need to watch the show. It's basically like an Elseworlds of League of Legends.
Which is great because I don't know the first thing about it.
Yeah, it is a great show and I recommend it. I loved it quite a lot.
I'm definitely going to check it out. Maybe we could do a watch along here on the show or something like that. That'd be fun.
Oh, that would be very fun.
Mhm.
It is a great show to watch along.
Yeah.
interesting about video games though, with League being brought up. It's yeah, it was toxic, but I've heard the environment today is even more toxic. It's just that people have brightened up to ignoring chat so they could play instead of rage.
You know what? Communication, it's overrated. I'll just do my thing and hope the team pulls through. How's that sound?
Man,
Yeah, just treat the rest of your teammates as like hyper advanced bots.
Man, I've been watching my model on your channel, and I realized why I didn't have my camera set below my face. It's because it wigs out constantly.
Yeah, wigging out a little bit.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
all right. I think it's been largely a pretty good show. Everything's been working as intended. We got our space line working,
Oh yeah.
all dynamic and what have you. It's great. We'll be able to use this again for future shows, and I hope our space cadets have enjoyed listening to us chit chat tonight. We've been going for just over 3 hours now. I think we're just gonna get ready to pass things off to some friends of the show. We'll send you off on a raid, space cadets. We'll keep this party going. Go say hi to some folks. But I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight, because I've enjoyed having you here, and I've enjoyed having Dregn here, and of course I've enjoyed having our space cadet callers like Xenovia call in to talk about this and that. We got up to some pretty interesting conversations right off the bat, and I think the latter half of the show, all about favorite movies and shows and pastimes and things like that.
Yeah.
A little less serious, but overall, a pretty great stream.
Very fun. Thanks for having us, Vector, or having
Thank
me.
you for having me on the line.
Yeah.
That's very
Right? Anything else you want to say, Xenovia? We're going to get ready to close out the show here, so we'll knock you off the line unless you got something else you want to promote or say. What's going on recently, Xenovia? Anything cool coming up?
Anything cool from my side? Well, if you're asking for things like that I'm doing, I'm still on a streaming hiatus, but
True.
I am working on a complete revamp of everything, and it's going well. I want to surprise everyone whenever I happen to come back, and yeah, that's as much as I can say. I don't want to take the focus too much from you, Vector, and you, Dregn, too.
Well,
So yeah, thank you for it.
before you leave, if anyone hasn't seen Nefeltanen's little 1.08333 special, Xenovia did the backgrounds.
And such a good job.
Yeah, and did a great
Yeah.
job. Check that out. And I bring this up because Xenovia, didn't you make a post not long ago that you're taking requests for like Padoru for like commission projects?
Yes, I am making Padoru commissions. It's just like I just typify your character into a Padoru
Yeah.
template just to like so it looks neat and Christmas themed. It is
Such a talented artiste.
Very adorable. So yeah, if anyone's
Yeah.
looking for that stuff, go check Xenovia out. Maybe you like what
Well,
you
here's
hear.
Yeah.
the shout out for Xenovia. Make sure you're following Xenovia, everybody, fellow virtual streamer and friend of the show. And thanks for calling in tonight, Xenovia. We're going to let you go.
Thank you. Goodbye,
Always a
everyone.
pleasure.
Take it easy.
Goodbye.
And there we go. The line goes off. It's as easy as that. It works so well, Dragon. We got
Nice.
such a sweet setup here.
Look at that.
Look at that.
All the
though.
new bells and whistles.
Well, Dragon, I think it's about time we call it.
Yeah, it's
We've had
getting to
some
that
great
point.
conversations tonight. It's getting late. Maybe not where you're at.
Well,
Oh,
it's still
I gotta
getting
get some
there.
rest.
Well, before
got
we
busy
wrap it
days
up,
ahead of us.
Vector, after all this work, what kind of shows are you looking to do using this booth in the near future?
Well, I think we're going to have you back on to do some co-hosting, but we'd also like to have some other Space Cadet friends of the show.
Maybe some more call-ins, maybe some opinionated
Some more
ideas
call-ins.
for
Yes,
some
absolutely.
larger group studio broadcasting. Let's go.
Indeed. Who will be in the hot seat next time? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll start doing pointed interview style podcasts where we get to the heart of things, Dragon. Start grilling our subjects, as it were.
Yeah. And if you're a creative-minded individual out there doing streaming, doing VTubing, start thinking about if we announce a little talent show, think about what kind of video would you make it be. Vector, what do you think? How long would these be? Like 1 to 5 minutes? 3 to 10
Easily
minutes?
20 minutes minimum. We got to really pad out the show.
All right.
No, that's a real idea that I've had for a while, though, is to
Yeah.
do like a talent show special with little segments mixed in between the kind of animated stuff that I would do as sort of a narrative to tie the whole show together. It's something that I think would really work during like the spring or summer or something like that. So definitely look forward to it. It's something I'm going to be expanding upon and trying to get going into the next year once we get all this other stuff off of our plate first, of course.
Very cool. Well, if you guys would like to see that, drop some ideas on Vector's page, slide into his DMs and be like, do it. And
that's right, Space Cadets. And of course, if you're tuning in for the first time tonight, don't forget you can always check out our schedule and follow us over on Twitter, YouTube, right here on Twitch. Become a Space Cadet today. Improve your life. You get to hang out with folks like myself, Dregn, super cool, virtual space-themed streamers. What's not to love?
wait until I charge to 100%. I'm only operating at 50% capacity right now.
That's good enough for this show.
But yeah, there it is in the chat. Check it out. And yeah, I will be more than glad to jump in again, do a little chit chat, talk about some ideas. Maybe there's something trending online that we can share our thoughts about, or maybe even yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll think about it. If you guys have ideas out there,
business here on the show.
yeah, serious business. Get your shenanigans out of here, Vector. We all know that you have nothing but funny bones.
Nothing but funny bones. Yes, tiny little funny bones. Another quick shout out for Dregn as we take off for the night, Space Cadets. So, of course, as we always like to say here on the show, I want to thank each and every one of you Space Cadets for tuning in tonight, wherever and whenever you are. Now, you can join us again on Friday. We're actually going to be streaming with Dregn and with Rig and with Hero King Soul. We're going to be playing some Halo Infinite, getting into that new winter-themed update that's just dropped this week. Going to be checking out new maps, new modes, lots of cool stuff. Until then, of course, Space Cadets, no matter what life throws your way, good luck and Godspeed from all of us here at Harbor Station. We'll catch you on the other side, Space Cadets. Now stick around for the raid, because we're about to send you off for some more great content for your evening. Yeah. Take care, everybody. And
bye,
we'll
everybody.
see you again real soon.
Burr, burr, burr. All right, everybody. We're wrapping it up as well. Hope you enjoyed that. Have a good night. And until next time, take it easy. Bye.